all our places with bright, shiny faces. Okay, I will call this meeting of Seneca County Commissioners to order for Thursday, September 16th, 2021. Please join me in the pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Paradiso, you have that?
Dear God, I'm so blessed to live in Seneca County and have such great people that we live and work with. We ask that you oversee this meeting as we have discussion and discuss county business. We ask that you continue to care for those that have COVID and that are also for the kids back in school, that you continue to support the parents, the teachers, and the kids. So with that, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, let's do roll call.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Here.
Commissioner Paradiso?
Here.
Commissioner Schuff?
Here. And I will accept the motion to approve the digital audio video recording of the previous board session from Thursday, September 9th.
So moved.
Thank you.
No, second.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none. Kylie?
Commissioner Schuff?
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yeah, so at 10:05, we've got our first ditch hearing.
That we can do it. She said,
Let's go ahead and get it tried now, see if we can get that under our belt.
I was gonna say we have a trifecta, but we have 4, so what do you call that?
Say that quad.
We have 4, the quad.
Quad.
Yeah, there you go. Come on, David.
Beth will explain.
I'm
anything
telling
we
you,
need to do.
relax a little bit.
Yeah.
it's not green, it's
I like the idea.
We love our jobs. We have fun over there.
I've heard of it.
How may I help you?
Hi, Sharice, this is Kylie with Seneca County.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Good. Calling in for the ditch hearing?
Yep, if you can hold for a moment, I'll put you over there.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Beth, you good?
Nothing to say.
And if you do, you'll.
Tell you later.
Welcome to the meeting.
I know, right?
It's like trying to call for a cable problem.
Okay.
She said they are in session for 90 times, so just call as soon as you do roll. All right.
They're having a really long prayer. Gotcha.
Good morning. Kern County Commissioners are here.
Good morning.
Good morning. You have all 3 Kern County Commissioners. You have Commissioner Harry Brady, Commissioner Skip Wild, and Commissioner Terry Booth.
We have Commissioner Paradiso, Commissioner Schuff, and Commissioner Kirschner present. I know this because we took roll call.
Read the resolution?
I think it's their show, right?
Nope, it's,
No? Okay, go ahead.
I have a resolution for maintenance assessments for collection in 2022 for the Seneca and Huron Joint County ditches maintained by the Seneca County Ditch Maintenance Program. Whereas the Seneca Soil and Water Conservation District administers the Seneca County Ditch Maintenance Program by agreement with the Board of Seneca County Commissioners and the Seneca County Engineer. And whereas the 2021 ditch maintenance inspection report indicates certain work needed to maintain the ditches on the maintenance program, and whereas the Seneca Soil and Water Conservation District has recommended to the joint boards of Seneca and Huron County Commissioners that the following assessments be collected to fund maintenance work needed in 2022. SC number 11-067, Martin Joint, 13.48%. SC number 11-110, Bordner Shank, 0%. And SC number 11-198, Landel Nye, 11.38%. Now therefore be it resolved that the joint board of Seneca and Huron County Commissioners are in agreement with these provisions as detailed herein, and be it further resolved that it is found and determined that all formal actions of this board concerning and relating to the adoption of this resolution were so adopted in an open meeting of this board, and that all deliberations of this board and of any of its committees that resulted in such formal action were in meetings open to the public in compliance with all legal requirements, including section 121.22 of the ORC.
Make a move for approval. Make a motion for approval.
Tyler Shuff, Seneca County Commissioners move for approval.
I will second that. Skip Wild.
Okay, Kylie, do a roll call here, please.
Commissioner Shuff,
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso,
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner.
Yes.
Commissioner Wild?
It's like checkers, your move.
Commissioner Brady?
Yeah.
Commissioner Booth?
Yes, we all approve. And we appreciate you taking the time out and having this all prepared for us. And if you go out and get donuts, just send a bill to Bruce Skip Wild.
And then we go to your gym after that, Skip.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Take care. All right, have a good day.
You too.
Thanks, bye.
Okay, Stacy, so I think before 10:15, we'll try to slip some county administrators report in here.
Yep, the only thing I want to touch on is we had to remove something from the agenda. The agenda had, let me pull it up there. We were setting the time and date for the Senate Bill 51, or 52. I spoke to CCAO and our legal counsel, and their recommendation is to wait to set the time and date for that hearing after the Senate bill takes into effect, which is October 11th. So we had everything ready to go, but you know, it was just his recommendation that we probably should wait to start the advertising to set the time and date after that takes effect. So we'll plan on starting that. October 14th would be our board session after October 11th.
Senate Bill 52 is Senator Reineke's bill as it relates to giving power to county commissioners to approve or not approve certain areas of the county or all areas of the county for future alternative energy projects. It would give the right to citizens to petition to have a vote on those projects if they so desire. It would take 8% of the people that voted in the last gubernatorial election in order to get the referendum on the ballot. So that's the gist of it. We are in support of it. We wanted to be one of the first ones out of the box, but council has advised us that the best thing to do is to wait until the bill actually goes into effect, which is October 11th, and then do it 30 days after that, or as close to that as possible. So you're going to send the notice out October 14th.
We'll set the date October 14th, and if the timeline works out, which I think it did, we'll do the hearing on November 18th.
Okay,
So
so that's the week before Thanksgiving, so it
Yes.
won't be,
Yeah.
all right. There's been some requests that the hearing be done on a day other than Thursday, but we can talk about that
Oh.
if we
Okay.
need to.
If you need to, there's more than 30 days by the time we would pass our resolution. So as long as if we get the ad in the paper by the 15th, then we could move it to a Wednesday if you wanted a special hearing to keep
Okay.
it out of a work.
Well, I was thinking that the week of Thanksgiving, we have to reschedule anyway, so maybe we could schedule that week for a Tuesday or Wednesday. That's the next week.
Okay.
I don't know how
Yeah,
that's,
no,
that
it sounds
schedule works out for you guys.
Okay. So maybe Tuesday at
Yeah,
10?
so why don't we schedule it for Tuesday, the week of Thanksgiving, whatever that date is.
23rd.
Is that fit
23rd.
the 30-day?
Yeah, that gets past it, yeah.
Okay. I think I heard you say that.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Other than that, I think that's all I have.
All right. Thank you. We're getting, we can start on some commissioner reports here to keep the thing moving. Tyler, Commissioner Schuh, what do you have for us today?
Yeah, this week, Tuesday, we had a GLCAT meeting, very well attended. There's no town meeting forum there, but a lot of great things that group organization does. Next Seneca County sweep will be in Bloomville, and that'll be the 28th of September, 2 o'clock. I reached out to Leslie Luce of the Bloomville Development Group. Excuse me. They're working on getting us some volunteers and stuff, and we'll work with Ariana House and Crossway and the regular groups that we've been doing, but that'll be the 28th. Some downtown events tonight, but I'll save that for Amy and Audrey's reports. And then I got a call earlier this week. There was a gentleman that asked me if the county has any land or space where we could have ATV vehicles or all-terrain vehicles. He brought up some good points, and it's something I've thought of over the last couple of years, but I know there's a lot of people here in the area that will travel to other counties, to other parts of the state to go four-wheeling, dirt biking, whatever that may be, but is there any county land, is there acreage that we have or a park that could potentially do something like that to draw people into the community, or the guy brought up some good points. I mean, those people stay in hotels, they go to the restaurants, and I don't think we have anything like that in the county currently, but is there land that could be transformed into that?
I don't think we do. We'd have to talk to maybe Sarah that's at the Park District to see if I don't know if Soil and Water has anything that big. We don't really have anything.
Farm all ours, that kind of land.
Yeah, I would say refer it to Sarah, see if any of the parks, she feels comfortable with that.
Okay.
Kind of go from there, yeah.
Yeah, it was just an interesting phone call and something I've thought about, but I know a lot of people that do that type of thing, and they'll travel and they'll spend
That's
money,
fun.
and it's a form of tourism, so just a thought.
Yeah.
Lastly, I was in Republic also this week, attended a town hall advisory committee meeting, so there's a group over there, Reviving Republic, and as well as that town hall advisory group. But so the township, Scipio, they sold to the village the old town hall, so they're trying to get ideas of what to do with that space, how to revitalize it. So I attended that meeting. We were kind of brainstorming a little bit, but looking forward to helping those folks out there and keep you posted as we make headway. So
All right,
that's all I have.
nice job, thanks. Let's try to call Sandusky County.
Thank you for calling the Sandusky County Conference Bridge. Please enter your conference room number.
After the tone, say your name and then press the pound key.
Kylie Garner?
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm sorry I didn't catch who that was that just called in.
It's Kylie?
Hi, Kylie.
Hi.
Charlie Schwoko.
Hello, Charlie, Mike Kirshner. We
Is
have
now in the
Commissioner.
conference.
Oh,
Charlie who? Hey,
see, did he get reelected?
I'm here. I'm on the ship. There's a lot of water around me.
Are you fishing?
This thing better not stink. There's a lot of weight here.
Okay. This is Mike Kirschner. We have all three commissioners, Commissioner Paradiso, Commissioner Schuff, Commissioner Kirschner here for a joint ditch hearing.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sandusky County Commissioners are on the call. Commissioner Zimmerman, Commissioner Miller, Commissioner Swalko, and Teresa Garcia, County Administrator.
Okay, let's get started.
Resolution for maintenance assessments for collection in 2022 for the Seneca and Sandusky Joint County ditches maintained by the Seneca County Ditch Maintenance Program. Whereas the Seneca Soil and Water Conservation District administers the Seneca County Ditch Maintenance Program by agreement with the Board of Seneca County Commissioners and the Seneca County Engineer, and the 2021 Ditch Maintenance Inspection Report indicates certain work needed to maintain the ditches on the maintenance program. And whereas the Seneca Soil and Water Conservation District has recommended to the Joint Board of Seneca and Sandusky County Commissioners that the following assessments be collected to fund maintenance work in 2022. SC number 11-105, Coon Scavuzzo, 0%. SC number 11-206, Peeler Joint, 0%. SC number 11-002, Perminer, 45.73%. Now therefore be it resolved that the Joint Board of Seneca and Sandusky County Commissioners are in agreement with these provisions as detailed herein, and be it further resolved that it is found and determined that all formal actions of this board concerning and relating to the adoption of this resolution were so adopted in an open meeting of this board, and that all deliberations of this board and of any of its committees that resulted in such formal action were in meetings open to the public in compliance with all legal requirements, including section 121.22 of the ORC.
I'll make a motion that we accept and approve the resolution as read.
Scott Miller, Sandusky County, I'll second the motion as noted.
Okay, any additional discussion? Hearing none, Kylie, roll call here, please.
Commissioner Schuff,
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso,
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner.
Yes.
Commissioner Zimmerman,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Swalko,
Yes.
Charlie, you don't sound very enthused about it.
Yes, yay!
Well, that's what I wanted, yeah.
Okay, all right, there you go.
Fish on.
Have a great day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
I think it's tough to get 3 commissioners to approve anything. How about 6? Sometimes we have 9.
Yes.
Okay, we might as well go right on to Crawford County. Let's go south.
Pretty good, Kylie.
It's your turn, by the way.
Should have said my name. I omitted that, but
That's okay, practice here. You'll get it.
have to work.
It's only been 9 months.
See who I am.
You're just a new.
Turn your name
That's
tag
all right.
around. How long can you play a new card?
Your call is very important to us.
1 year.
For municipal court,
No, I
please
play on
press
old.
2.
I play the old card.
Common Pleas Court, please press 3. For juvenile court, please press 4. For probate court, please press 5. For all other calls, please hold for the Commissioner's office. Thank you. Crawford County Commissioner's office.
Hi, this is Kylie from Seneca County calling for a joint ditch hearing.
Just a moment.
Thank you.
I hear it, don't you?
It's just voices.
That's right, that's right, that's right.
This is Crawford County Commissioners.
Hi, this is Kylie with Seneca County calling for the joint ditch hearing.
Good morning, thanks for calling.
Good morning.
We are in session here with 3 commissioners. You have 3 Seneca County Commissioners also?
We do. Commissioner Paradiso, Commissioner Schupp, and Commissioner Kirschner are present. I'll have Kylie go ahead and read the information for the ditch hearing.
Okay.
Maintenance assessments for collection in 2022 for the Seneca and Crawford Joint County ditches maintained by the Seneca County Ditch Maintenance Program. Whereas the Seneca...
Yep, gotta keep that muted, Joe.
Whereas the Seneca Soil and Water Conservation District administers the Seneca County Ditch Maintenance Program by agreement with the Board of Seneca County Commissioners and the Seneca County Engineer. And whereas the 2021 Ditch Maintenance Inspection Report indicates certain work needed to maintain the ditches on the maintenance program. And whereas the Seneca Soil and Water Conservation District has recommended to the joint boards of Seneca and Crawford County Commissioners that the following assessments be collected to fund maintenance work needed in 2022. SC number 11-017, Luster Utz 0%, SC number 11-061, Ranson Zeter 9.5%. Now therefore be it resolved that the joint board of Seneca and Crawford County Commissioners are in agreement with these provisions as detailed herein, and be it further resolved that it is found and determined that all formal actions of this board concerning and relating to the adoption of this resolution were so adopted in an open meeting of this board, and that all deliberations of this board and of any of its committees that resulted in such formal action were in meetings open to the public in compliance with all legal requirements, including section 121.22 of the ORC.
Make a motion that we accept the resolution. Thank you.
Okay, Tyler Schupp, Commissioner Schupp has made a motion.
I'll second it, Commissioner Weisenauer.
Okay, any additional discussion? Anyone? Hearing none, Kylie, please take roll.
Commissioner Schuff,
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso,
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt? Aye. Commissioner Lay? Aye. Commissioner Weisenauer, aye.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Enjoy the day.
Well, that was quick.
It was, yeah.
Drive down and say hi, and then you took us out for lunch. I like this telephone program now.
That sure seems to be the way it is.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, well, thank you for getting with us, and
We'll send the resolution signed back to you,
Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
too.
bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Okay, Tony, you have 7 minutes.
I'll take 3. Beth, I do have a question for you. So the ditch maintenance that we have, how many are there approximately?
We maintain over 300 miles in the county.
Okay, and then do you add miles every year?
Not every year,
Okay.
but every other year or so.
Does it creep up over time?
A little bit, it's slow,
Okay.
which is okay.
Yeah, right.
That means we don't have major problems. It means our landowners are maintaining it themselves.
Yeah. Okay, and just 2 quick comments. We had an opportunity to go out to the airport. Brad Newman celebrated his 50th anniversary of working and being part of the airport. Got a mini tour when we were out there. It's pretty impressive, actually. And so we want to congratulate Kim and Brad for their service and time. Their son Andrew was there, and then grandson was there. They're all part of it, so that's neat. Number 2, I had an EMS visit on behalf of the commissioners, and Ken and company went up to in the Bradner area and visited a a new building and squad out there to get some ideas and basically to get some cost verification, what it is to operate a facility like that way out in the country. And then get some ideas on what a building may look like, square footage, estimated costs. So I brought that back. Internally, we're circulating that. We'll discuss that, I think, at the next meeting. We'll bring that up. The first Thursday in, what's the next month? October. So with that, it had some other things in motion, but that's basically my report. So with that, back to you.
Okay, well, mine pretty much just consists of a couple of reminders. We talked about it when we first got here. I think Young Professionals are sponsoring the pizza tonight. And there was a trivia contest downtown tonight. And what else?
Wine tasting.
And the
Okay,
bike rack dedication for Bunky will be at Cherry Alley at 7.
so don't get supper anywhere. Come downtown Tiffin this evening from all points in the county and enjoy. It's gonna be a beautiful night, and we hope all be here. And then on, is it the 30th, Jimmy, for the museum?
Yes.
We're gonna talk about, is it Lisa Swicker?
Swickard, yep. Mad Dog
Tell the
Killers.
story about the
Mad Dog Killers,
yeah. Somewhere in the late 40s, 1948, I think they came through Tiffin, Ohio, and actually murdered somebody over near Old Fort somewhere.
Old Fort.
So, pardon me?
Old Fort.
Yeah. So, on the 30th, mark your calendars. I think it'll give you two opportunities. One, listen to a great historical rendition of that whole event, and two, to visit the museum and see what changes have been made there. So I would encourage as many people as possible to try to mark their calendars for that. The 30th is what day of the week?
It's a Thursday.
Thursday night.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, 7 p.m. is the start time.
7 p.m. Okay, those are basically my announcements. Let's try to call Hancock County. The last and final interesting point to be made today.
Are these are on different cycles?
No, these are annual.
All of them, every year, that's it, yeah. Okay.
And we just charge for what work needs to be done this year. So that's why some of them are zeros and some of them are higher percentages. Some don't need any work.
Try it again.
Is there a screw loose behind the phone?
No.
Oh, okay.
These kind of trickle in.
For Hancock?
All of these special assessments have to be at the auditor's office by the beginning of September.
Okay.
Or I mean, sorry, by the end of September
these-
here,
are
so
these
we're at
things-
the end of the cycle.
Are these time sensitive?
Yes.
If we don't do it today, that's bad.
Well, we have one for
Next
Wyandotte next week.
Okay.
Hancock County Commissioner's Office.
Hi, this is Kylie with Seneca County calling for the joint ditch hearing.
Oh, just one moment, please.
All have to be submitted by the end of September. For June, if they get assessed.
Somebody getting married?
Yeah, correct.
And then you get the money.
Yes. Once they pay their property taxes, then it gets trickled back to us.
I kind of knew that, but I wasn't exact. Oh, yeah.
No worries.
Good.
How many projects do you have on the books for people to do?
Not very many right now,
Not right now.
Bill. Yeah, thank goodness.
This is kind of a step up for
Can we look into getting some music like this on our phone lines?
Right.
Beth, do you
Anybody know, you know the words of this song?
Listening.
I'll just hang up when somebody talks because I just want to hear the music.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Otherwise.
You're the only
Makes
one.
sense.
right.
You don't love this tune?
No.
That's what Jimmy Jams do in his free time.
Sure.
Yeah.
It depends.
Depends.
Multiple options. Sorry, it's not a simple answer, but
We got miles and ditches.
Pardon me?
That's a lot of ditch. We got miles.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of ditches.
You can ride your buggy in
A lot
that.
of crawdads, a lot of tadpoles.
Something lives in there.
Yes, indeed. Some people think those things are very important too, to things that live in there.
See, in Florida, they call them canals.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Venice.
Yeah.
There's 500 miles of canals.
Oh, yeah.
Is that true? 500 miles?
That was
Lee County.
not too long ago. It was a
Cape
swamp.
Coral, north of Fort Myers.
North and west, yeah.
Every place is on the water.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, transfer you now, okay?
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
More music.
Oh.
Hello.
Hi, this is Seneca County.
Hi, this is Hancock County. We've got Commissioner Basin and Commissioner Bexel.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. We have all three commissioners, Commissioner Paradiso, Commissioner Schuff, and Commissioner Kirschner. And we have a ditch hearing for the joint ditch, Seneca Hancock. And Kylie will read it for us, if that's okay.
That'll work.
All right.
Resolution for maintenance assessments for collection in 2022 for the Seneca and Hancock joint county ditches maintained by the Seneca County Ditch Maintenance Program. Whereas the Seneca Soil and Water Conservation District administers the Seneca County Ditch Maintenance Program by agreement with the Board, the Seneca County Commissioners, and the Seneca County Engineer. And whereas the 2021 Ditch Maintenance Inspection Report indicates certain work needed to maintain the ditches on the maintenance program. And whereas the Seneca Soil and Water Conservation District has recommended to the joint boards of Seneca and Hancock County Commissioners that the following assessments be collected to fund maintenance work needed in 2022. SC number 11-079, Lowry Franker, 17.12%. SC number 11-235, Keckler Coleman, 0%. Now therefore be it resolved that the joint board of Seneca and Hancock County Commissioners are in agreement with these provisions as detailed herein, and it be further resolved that it is found and determined that all formal actions of this board concerning and relating to the adoption of this resolution were so adopted in an open meeting of this board, and that all deliberations of this board and of any of its committees that resulted in such formal action were in meetings open to the public in compliance with all legal requirements, including section 121.22 of the ORC.
This is Commissioner Paradiso. I'll make a motion that we approve the Seneca Hancock ditch maintenance resolution as read.
Second, Bateson from Hancock.
Thank you. Any additional discussion, anyone? Hearing none. Kylie, roll call here, please.
Commissioner Schuff,
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso,
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner.
Yes.
Hancock got roll call?
You want me to do that?
Yes, please.
Oh, please.
Okay. Usually it's the other, Commissioner Basin,
Yes.
Commissioner Bexel.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I think that concludes our business today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful fall day coming up.
Yes.
Not quite fall yet.
Yeah, it's true. We got a transition. Next, few more days,
Hey, all right, thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
So finally, we get to the interesting part of the meeting. Different Seneca Economic Partnership. David, are you taking over at this point?
All right, well, I don't know who's doing the slideshow.
Since he has the lights.
Okay. Lights, camera, action. What's that?
Better like that.
Share screen.
He's got an ankle, I think.
They won't be able to see us on our phone unless we stand up there, but it doesn't matter.
Clip there if you need it.
What's up? Yeah, I'm just debating. I think we should stand up, but you can sit at your angle. So, okay. Audrey pointed out to me that, always being aware of the audience also online, so Jimmy, am I good?
Here's your
Yep.
clicker.
If,
Here's the
yep.
clicker.
Okay, thanks.
Square.
You can see it.
Yeah.
Holding
you
this to
stay
tip
in
it
that
off,
joint right
but
here.
yep.
Is
The
this the
audience
square?
can see you
Okay.
at home.
Perfect.
so-
Okay, perfect.
Great. Yes, right here.
Thank you, Audrey. Amy's got an ankle issue, so she may be continuing to sit down. So, and Karina's out after surgery. So, we got most of the gang here, including a new member. So we're thrilled to be here. Always like to start by, on behalf of the team and the community, expressing our appreciation for the strong support that we've received from the commissioners for many, many years. We work very hard to put those resources to good use to the benefit of the businesses and residents of Seneca County, and we're proud to give you an update periodically on what we're doing and why we're doing it. So with that, I'll plunge in. Okay, so I'm going to fill in for Karina again because of her surgery yesterday. So key activities, she has done an amazing job over the last couple of months in getting up to speed, taking over some of those financial administration responsibilities from Audrey. We got a number of grants flowing through our office. We got a number of things. There's a lot of things going on. She has also been doing a good job in supporting the team on making sure, whether it's Rural Broadband Task Force or others, being able to make sure we coordinate meetings and those kinds of things. She's working on closing up and doing some of the things for the CARES program. She's handling our records and supply management, providing that team support, and working on coordinating our communication in our various organizational meetings. Again, in a couple of months, she's done an amazing job, super thrilled. And that frees us up to really go gangbusters on the big picture initiative.
So the message there is are outstanding in their field.
Yes, or my jokes tend to be corny. I don't know what it is. So again, Karina's doing a great job. So with that, I want to introduce you our newest member of the team, Chandler Grooms, who hails from Pike County. Started on Monday. He's going to introduce himself, but also talk about what he's doing. But just to be clear, this is a position that is funded by a partnership with Terra State and Vanguard Sentinel. That the decision was made to continue this couple-year initiative and have that person us, because it's really a business-driven economic and workforce development initiative, but has dramatic impacts on education and a really good community. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Chandler to introduce himself and talk about Northwest Career Ready and what he's going to be up to.
Thank you. Nice to meet you guys. Nice to meet everyone. Happy to be here. As David said, I'm from Pike County, which is about 3 hours south from here. Excited to be in Tiffin. Not fully unboxed in my apartment yet, but working on it. And so I'm excited to see all the things that are happening here and excited to be a part of the TCEP team. So as David said, my title is the Workforce Development Manager for TCEP. One of my main priorities is specifically running the Northwest Career Ready Initiative and Business Advisory Council for what initially started 2 years ago, launched under kind of a coordinated effort between Tiffin City Schools, Terra State, and Vanguard Sentinel, a bunch of other community stakeholders and partners that wanted to see a more well-rounded strategy and connection amongst educators and students and business and community leaders. Northwest Career Ready, like I said, has been going on for about 2 years now, and is now, thanks to a lot of the hard work done by volunteers and partners, and specifically the previous part-time manager, Amy Wood, it's now at a place to really take it to the next level and succeed. We have a full organizational structure already developed and ready to go, a full steering committee working and guiding the program and initiative, and then 3 specific committees: leadership and governance, work-based learning, and communication and engagement, all focused and tasked on those 3 key areas, and have been meeting regularly the last year or so. And we're now getting ready to kickstart that again, now going into the school year, and with myself stepping up and hopefully getting those committees back on track to do some real positive work here. To kind of give you a insight on Northwest Career Ready, we are now in 5 counties in Northwest Ohio. We have about 14 participating school districts at the moment. That, of course, we're looking to continue to grow with them and develop them to make sure we have work-based learning programs in each of their school districts. But also, and when David, brought this position to me, the goal is to make this as successful as possible at scale, so that we can grow and become a model for the rest of Northwest Ohio and get into more districts in the area. So, right now, what I've been tasked with in my first week so far, and have been hit the ground running. Of course, onboarding and getting used to Tiffin, Ohio, getting used to TCEP, getting used to understanding the structure of Northwest Career Ready, and specifically understanding what a business advisory council is. So for those of you who don't know, It is written into state law that every school in Ohio is required to have a business advisory council. That BAC is supposed to serve as a liaison for school districts and educators to work with employers and business professionals and workforce professionals to help. How do we keep this generation of incoming seniors and students at their highest level so they can graduate and enter the workforce right away? How can we get them skills trainings and experience that helps? They might not be going to college, they might not be in a trade school. How can we make sure that they are able to enter the workforce and help their local communities? So part of that BAC, every year we're required to have an annual plan. That is due September 30th, which if you're looking at your calendars is very, very close. So that's been my biggest thing I've been working on so far. We're well underway with that, working with Tara and Vanguard and our other key committee leads on that. So hopefully we'll have that ready to go, hopefully wrapped up next week. We have our first, my first quarterly meeting with Northwest Career Ready. And so we'll present that, hopefully finished draft of the plan, have it covered by the rest of the team, and have it ready to go September 30th for the Department of Education.
Can I ask you a question? So
Sure.
every school that's part of you, everybody's required to have that. So if you do it and the school's part of
Correct.
your group,
So
they're canvassed over that.
Correct. Northwest Career Ready is kind of serving, and along with, we're working specifically with Vanguard. We are a joint vocational school district business advisory council plan. So all of our schools that we are an umbrella over are going to be able to utilize this plan for the 2021-2022 academic school year to do things like work-based learning and better their students. So
Thank you.
later today, I'll be meeting with Aspire Advertising to start a new marketing and communication plan that's already been set in place, thanks to David and the Marketing Communications Committee with NCR. Really excited for this. This will be a good way for us, Northwest Career Ready, to really develop and establish a brand image, a fully functional website, and really better connect with our employers and our businesses and the greater community at large. One of the things I'm really excited about for this upcoming website is we are going to build a career awareness catalog. This is going to be a lot more than just a jobs board. This will be something that students and teachers and businesses can utilize on a daily basis, and especially graduating seniors can come to, and they can find potential internships, apprenticeships, work-based learning experiences. They can see what jobs are out there already and understand what those skill sets can be, and they'll be able to filter it by their county and by their school and by certain employers. So really excited about that. And then of course the final thing, our strategic doing subcommittee for the work-based learning committee has already had a solid 6 work-based learning experiences in the works that we'll be getting back started, and hopefully we'll be able to push those out into every school district across our Northwest Career Ready team. So a lot going on in the first week, a lot's continue going on. I'm excited for it. Any questions for you guys?
I think we'll let you off easy with many questions. Just like next time we'll have some questions for you.
I'll take you up on that offer. I'll take you up on an offer. So I'm going to pass it now over to Carol, who's also doing workforce development. Thank you guys.
It's an important job.
Welcome to Tiffin.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Thank you.
welcome. Yeah.
Hey, good morning. A lot of great things happening in workforce in addition to bringing Chandler on board. Okay, first, through a collaboration with the Ohio Means Jobs Office in Wyandotte County and the Greater Ohio Workforce Board, we were able to secure funding to approve an incumbent worker training application from Custom Glass Solutions. They have locations in Fostoria and Upper Sandusky. They've created an intensive standardized training program for every employee at their facilities. And the funding is to reimburse 50% of the cost to the trainers. The total grant is $375,000. Again, that's 50% of the cost. At the end of August, Kathy, Oliver, and I were able to attend an award ceremony where they handed out the first Task Mastery and Job Mastery certificates. A Task Mastery certificate means the employee has learned at least 50% of the task for their position, and a Job Mastery obviously means they've mastered the position. In Fostoria, they had 56, so 110 employees earned a certificate, 45 for Task Mastery, 11 for Job Mastery, and that's 51% of their workforce. And the board and I will soon begin working to work with apprenticeships and start apprenticeships for every position in those 2 facilities. Seneca, so that adds with apprenticeships. With regard to apprenticeships, so far we've assisted 3 employers with 18 workforce board sponsored apprentices. And I'm happy to announce that paperwork has been sent to the state for 5 who've completed their apprentices for apprenticeships, and those are all with Grammar here in Tiffin. The Seneca Fortune 500 project was started with a business services grant of about $75,000 from the Greater Ohio Workforce Board. And the goal was to reach out to at least 500 local employers. At last count, COACT, our vendor, has reached out to 567, the majority being small and or rural businesses. They connected with 204 and have explained T-STEP services, and another 139 have actually resulted in projects. Through another grant, we were able to fund a wage and benefit survey. We've talked about this for a while. We know that employers really wanted this. We were finally able to get the funding for that, and the final report was received and forwarded to the employers on August 2nd. They went to 123 organizations across 7 counties in Northwest Ohio. Only those who responded to the survey received a copy, and Seneca County had the largest number of participants with 43 employers. Last year, the manufacturing showcase had to be a virtual event because of COVID. This year, we're happy that we're going to be back in person. That will be held October 8th at the Heminger Center. Masks will be required, but most of the schools have agreed that that's not a problem. Unfortunately, Tiffin City Schools are having a rising number of COVID cases, so they just backed out yesterday. But we will do a virtual event again for them this year so that they can still take part. I do still need employers. If any local manufacturers want to take part of that, please contact me. The Job Seneca County Facebook page continues to do well. We hit 2,000 followers in mid-January and have added about 165 since that time. The page averages about 10 posts a day, including weekends. By the end of this month, I expect the page to have 175,000 reaches and 500,000 impressions for the year. There are 6 employer videos currently posted on that, and we hope to have another one. We're just waiting on the employer to approve it, and then we'll launch a 7th. So I've been actually assisting with apprenticeships. We started work with Vanguard Sentinel and Tiffin City Schools to implement pre-apprenticeships. They'll be part of the Bridging Readiness After Graduation program, which is what Chandler referred to as work-based learning. So graduation, the BRAG program, they're placed at a work site the second half of their senior year, but having it become a pre-apprenticeship is another tool that will actually help those students to graduate. And then just some stats, just through August, I've had 309 job orders. 24 of those were from first-time employers who'd never used the services before. That 309 compares to 160 total for 2020 and 12 first-time users for 2020. So COACT has really had a huge impact, and I've been able to increase the number of services I've been able to provide. And I've given some information there about incumbent worker training and wage reimbursement for new hires. So we're doing a lot with spending to help employers here in the county. Any questions for me?
Hey, Carol, I have a quick question.
Yes.
Who do the kids go to at Vanguard to, look into the process of the avenue for the apprenticeship programs and stuff on that? Who's kind of the contact that they should?
Well, the pre-apprenticeship is just in the very early stages.
Okay.
Right now, we have the BRAG program where they're placed at work sites. To date, that's only been Tiffin City Schools. They agreed to pilot it under the BAC, under Northwest Career Ready. So this year, with Chandler's guidance, with Vanguard Sentinel, we hope to scale that, like you said, into other school districts. The next step after that then would be the pre-apprenticeships. It would be adding a classroom component to the work-based learning.
In the last 30 days, 60 days, have you seen any trends or any change in workforce?
No, we're still struggling to fill positions. Some literature that I've read says that it's going to take a little bit more before people come back into the workforce because they received the stimulus money. They've got some savings, they're able to coast out a little bit longer, so it might be a while yet before we see people returning to the workforce. The civilian labor force still remains lower than we would like to see it.
Is there any fluctuation in job? Excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Somebody there had a question?
No. Yeah, go.
Was there any fluctuation in job demand once the subsidy of unemployment went away?
The demand, no, that stayed pretty steady throughout.
I mean, people looking for work?
No, again, it seems like the civilian labor force, it's starting to creep up, which is good. and those that are re-entering the workforce are finding jobs. Obviously, they're there.
Yeah.
We just want to see more of an increase in that labor force. Because we have a lot of companies with 25, 30, 40 positions that are open.
So, one final question for time. The 309 job orders, can you just guesstimate how many of those, how many people came from a current employer that jumped ship to another employer versus somebody that wasn't working?
Well, the job orders represent positions open at local businesses.
so I'm adding
And yeah,
to
I'm hearing
that,
from employers
yeah.
that a lot of them, they're jumping ship, they're moving, wages are starting to increase. I think that's part of the competition. I think it's partly a result of the wage and benefit survey. But we hear a lot of that people are moving from place to
Moving
place.
around, but are you sensing that as we need a little more time for that, for people to
I think we need a little more
get
time
back
for that.
into the workforce?
Yeah,
Okay.
we've had that even before COVID, where people were jumping. And it would be for
You're
just
always
a-
gonna have that, right? But,
Yeah.
everything we're talking about is homegrown, organic, lining up the students, workforce development with people that aren't working or want to change careers. Just interesting. You guys are doing great work. Just imagine what the county would be like if you weren't doing everything you're doing.
There are more jobs available than people.
You
So
know,
really the key
yeah.
is that future workforce and keeping the students here in the county.
Right.
So we're lucky to have Chamberlain on board to lead that initiative.
I support 100% what you're doing. I think you're doing a great job.
With that, I'll turn it over to Audrey Flood.
All right, good morning, everyone. So, as your rural development representative, you hear from me every week with active things that are going on that we want you to hear about on a more updated basis. But today, I'm going to kind of zoom out and remind you what all of my areas are and how the things fit in to what you hear from me about every week. So. First off, the most important thing I think since the last time we updated you all is the addition of Karina taking a large number of things off my plate. So I've been able to decrease my activity in a number of areas. So all the operational things that he talked about Karina doing, the financial, administrative, general support of the organization that I had been doing, I've been able to pass that on and trained Karina to do that. So that has really changed how my job works altogether. So I'm very grateful for that. Also, we've been able to shift some of the remaining work. Yes, there is still work being done for the Tiffin and Seneca CARES programs, those business grants we did for our local businesses. There's a lot of things going on with that I've been able to shift over to Karina and David as well, so that's been very helpful. And then our Seneca County CEO program finally launched. They started class last week, so we're really excited about that. David and I have been working on that for over 2 years now, and we've given you little updates along the way, but those students are actually finally in class starting last week. So I've also been able to transition a lot of the back-end administration and pushing that program forward to some of the other members of the board and support people for that program as well. So that's kind of moving off my plate. So the good news is now I have a little more time to focus on some of my other initiatives. So just as a reminder, again, I have the 3 areas. Rural, which again you guys all hear about a lot. Community development for the city of Tiffin, which you don't hear about as much because it's not as applicable. Just as a reminder, Charlene at Regional Planning does do the community development services for the whole county outside of the city of Tiffin. And then my other area is the entrepreneurship and small business. So increasing my activity in these other 3 areas. So in entrepreneurial development, we've been able to really put a little additional energy into our strategic plan that we're putting together for entrepreneurship. There's never been a strategic plan specifically in that area before, and we are going to be completing that towards the end of this year, beginning of next year. So we will finally have detailed direction and guidance on where the gaps are and what we need to be doing for small businesses here in the county. So that's really exciting. Moving forward on a number of pieces to get that strategic plan process done. And as a reminder, we're working with STAT from GLCAP or RCAP to put that together. Another big thing we've been putting a lot more time into that we announced to you a while ago is the Tiffin Seneca Entrepreneurial Opportunity Clearinghouse. So the opportunity for people to get connected, whether it's a business owner wanting to sell, an investor, an entrepreneur looking for a business to take over, any of those things, we're connecting people through this new platform. And we had some really exciting things going on now, and there's a few other projects coming down the pipeline as well. So we're really excited to be opening up that platform for a lot of people that we've had a ton of interest in that. So we're going to be really ramping that up to be a service that we're providing for the community. And then in community development for the city of Tiffin, we just launched, I told you a little bit about this a couple weeks ago, our Dream Big Tiffin initiative. So this is our annual process where we are gathering information on projects and initiatives that are happening in the community to identify what's going on out there and then prioritize the projects in order of what has the most impact and what's most ready to go to get those top projects funded and completed. So we just launched that, and it will be open till mid-October, October 15th, I believe. We'll be reaching out directly to a lot of stakeholders and people we know are working on projects, but anyone at all that you know. Again, this is City of Tiffin specific, not county related. County projects can get connected with Charlene, but any projects you know of in the City of Tiffin where people are looking for additional resources to kind of get their project completed, go ahead. This will help them get kind of over the finish line with their project. So have them reach out to me directly and we'll help them through the application process. This is also the list that we are picking from for different city funding opportunities like the Community Development Block Grant and State Capital Budget. So it's really important. There's a lot of benefits for people to get involved in this overall process where we're going to agree on those priorities. We're also still running the Community Development Committee, which is a really great group of people that are helping us do that prioritization process of Dream Big Tiffin. And they're also going to be helping us work towards several areas in the comprehensive plan that we're really trying to be intentional about working towards. We put all that work into that plan, and we want to take some of those areas and make sure that we're taking steps to reach the objectives and goals that are outlined in that comprehensive plan for the City of Tiffin. And then we also have several really great community development projects that I'm following through with, assisting them on. We've got the Tiffin Community Kitchen, the new homeless shelter, as well as many other really great projects that came out of last year's process that I'm continuing to support along the way, and then more will be popping up this year as well. And then in rural, continuing to do services for any of the businesses that get directed our way or that reach out to contact me if they need connected to resources or need help getting started. We connect them to the right thing. So continuing to provide those business services. Hoping to do some more retention and expansion work now that I have a little bit of extra time, doing those calls like Carol was talking about, reaching out to businesses, seeing if they need help, and connecting with more and more rural businesses. As there are hundreds of them. I have not been able to connect with all of them yet, but that is on the goal list. Continuing to work with Seneca County Common Ground on the local food initiative and connecting with several rural businesses through that with the farmers markets and other local food projects that we're working on. So that's another great rural connection. Working with David really heavily on the Rural Broadband Task Force, so we really appreciate all of your participation in the kickoff meeting that we had, and we're now working through the RFP process with David, so we're really excited to have that going and have, again, a plan on paper to let us know how best we can move forward with the broadband efforts. So appreciate your support on that, and we'd love to continue down that journey with you. And then also just continuing stakeholder relations, so continuing to meet with all of our rural elected officials in the townships and villages, as well as some different groups who have initiatives going on in the rural areas as well, and looking into any kind of broader initiatives that we can bring to the rural areas to support them more. So those are some of the kind of big things that have been going on in each of those areas. And so looking forward, one of the things I'm most excited about in each area, so in rural, I'm really excited for this broadband initiative and increasing more contact and more services with all those rural businesses now that I have this little bit of extra capacity on my plate. In community development, I'm really excited for this year's Dream Big process. This is the second year, so we're really hoping to expand the community involvement in that, get more community participation, get more projects participating. So I think this is going to be a really big year for that to help move forward community development for the city. I'm also really just excited now that we're focusing on several areas of the comprehensive plan to specifically and intentionally move those forward. So that's going to be big this in the coming months. And then in entrepreneurship, again, we had a ton of interest in that entrepreneurial opportunity clearinghouse. So that's something that's really got us excited moving into the next couple of months. So that's a big one that we're going to expand the usage and awareness of that. And then getting that strategic plan completed, towards the beginning of next year is going to be really, really big for us, something that we've never had before that will allow us to start implementing some of the things that committee is talking about, the gaps and things that we're going to start to fill. So those are some of the highlights of things I'm looking forward to and what's been going on in each of my areas. Are there any questions for me before I hand it off to Nick? Sorry, I know I went
Real quick,
fast.
on
Yeah,
the rural broadband initiative.
Yeah.
I was unable to be at this planning meeting.
Sure.
But David, thank you for the invitation to that. Are those notes published somewhere? or-
yeah, absolutely. We can get you all the information from that and make sure that you're totally in the loop for the next step that comes up. So we will connect with you directly on that.
Thanks.
Yep, thank you. Other questions?
So just maybe for Carol, more and more people are working from home, if not full-time, on a flex basis. So this would, is there any way we can quantify what improved rural broadband access would do from a,
It's something we can work on. I don't have that currently, but it's something we can try to get for you.
yeah, just maybe a high level? I would think that if people had good service at home, that it may help us in a lot of ways. Home businesses, home businesses. I know a lot of.
We're trying to make it lively for the station. Come on.
You got an iPhone? I don't have co-host, so.
All right, I don't know why it's,
I don't
they
even
keep
know what that
unmuting
is.
it.
I don't
We need
either.
to
Mike
make me
was gonna
co-host.
break out in song.
So sorry.
I was talking, there's a lot of people that drive to, let's say, Marion to work. And anyhow, we'll follow up on that. You get it.
There-
Yeah.
There's some new commuting information that Karen can get you as well on looking trends over time. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
We'll
good.
do that after the meeting.
So I need to take a pause here and do a big street vacation hearing at 11 o'clock.
Thanks.
Good job, Audrey.
Stop sharing that, just.
So if you want to start that,
I'm gonna make sure I give Jimmy co-host quick before something happens. Okay.
So he's here.
I think it's first read this.
Okay. I guess you can call the hearing to order.
That would be interesting. Yeah, so I think veterans going to.
yes,
Call the hearing to order at 11?
yes.
Yes.
We're
Okay.
calling hearing order, yeah.
We have a request and a resolution from Hopewell Township. The resolution is to request the Seneca County Board of Commissioners to vacate the portion of Continental Street, Township Road 198A, located in section 24 of Hopewell Township. We received a letter and the resolution, so we set hearing for this. We've sent it to our engineer and legal counsel, so I don't know if we want comments, if we want.
I think, I guess comments from both sides at this point. First, the petitioners. So
Here.
townships, what,
Hopewell Township.
Well, the property that we're asking to be vacated has never been used for a road. And we have a resident that his house sits right on the corner of the property lines, and we just thought it'd be a good idea to vacate it so that it never becomes a road and it has to tear his house down. And if you'd like to say something, Mr. Brickner's the homeowner of that house.
Mr. Brickner, yes.
Yes, what he says is correct. The southeast corner of my house, that's right on the line of the right-of-way. And the road itself, it is already there, is so small with only a 40-foot right-of-way, it's just can't stand any traffic, any more traffic than the people that are living there. And that's why we'd like to see it closed, because that would put my house right on the right-of-way. The house was built about 1900, so, and I think the road was probably laid out about 1875, from what I'm able to find out. So, obviously, they had no setback at that point, and they built the house right on the right-of-way.
Is this the Continental Road before the advertiser?
Yes, just before the advertisement.
Prior to getting there then?
If they're on the west end.
Heading west.
Yeah. I have the last two lots of that addition. Yeah.
The road stops at Mr. Brickner's driveway, and the rest of it is just grass. And then behind that is just a field, so.
Yeah.
So I've lived there 47 years and nothing's ever been done to it except me. I've mowed, I've taken out dead trees, whatever had to be done.
Just to the south, I think I did drive out, just to the south of it is like
Just the south of it.
Fabrizio's and the blood place, where you can get your blood checked and that kind of thing. That building is just to the south of where we're talking about, on Miami Street, facing Miami Street.
Yeah.
All those buildings come back to that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of in your backyard.
That is correct. Property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I knew this spot. Okay.
Tried to bring up just a little bit of a map, and that'd be the best one. So they submitted a couple of them.
That map really isn't
The good
quite
one?
correct.
Now, there's another piece of ground to the north of the city of Tiffins.
I don't, you probably can't put this up on overview, but I have a thing from the county auditors that shows the property lines. Do you have that?
Yeah, I'm looking. We got a lot of.
It's here.
I have a question. Did the county commissioners ask for a report from the county engineer and or the prosecuting attorney on opinions on this?
Yes.
Yeah.
And would you read them out?
Pardon me?
Can you read them?
I can
I
summarize.
don't think we have a
The engineer here.
Engineers.
We can hear it from the horse's mouth from the engineer's standpoint.
Yeah, so I don't know how much history you want with this whole project, but back in 1996, this same section of ground was asked to be vacated through a different section of code, a different part of the code where the landowners, with a minimum of 12 freeholders, petitioned the county commissioners at that time to vacate this section of Township 198A. At the time, the communications, there were very few people, actually still here today, that were involved in that process back then. But through Paul Kuchar, the prosecutor at the time, acting for him, Jeff Stockner, the assistant prosecutor, had made a determination along with Jim Nims, the county engineer, my predecessor, that held that the only issue we have with vacating this piece of ground is that it would leave a piece of ground landlocked, which is owned by the city of Tiffin, which is why that map doesn't quite show everything that is true. Those are our maps, and that's the maps aren't perfect. That's life. And through our conveyance standards, through our subdivision regulations, through Ohio surveying standards, landlocked parcels are not allowed. We have not approved any function of land transfer that has left a piece of ground landlocked since we initiated our rules. It happened to be in 1996, unrelated. It just happened to be when our subdivision regulations and construction codes were approved. At the time, there were several communications between the petitioner's lawyer, who was Kent Nord, may rest in peace, and several options they have for people, or the city, to be able to acquire other access through purchases. At the time, through communications with Mayor Holman, at the time, there was no appetite for the city to acquire something they already had. So while this piece of ground is, as Mr. Brickner stated, grass, and looks as though it is yard, it is the legal access and the only legal access to this piece of ground. So back then, this petition by the landowners somewhat died. It died a slow death through months and months of communications. To my knowledge, no formal resolution was ever really made on it, because through this time, the landowners were trying to work on ways to acquire this additional access, but that never happened. We are in the same position today, where now, however, the trustees, so through the different section, are requesting the vacation. And while, as a standard point, we are, at the engineers department, supportive of the trustees' desires to vacate pieces of ground that they no longer feel are in the common interest of the public. It still leaves the same, and I guess to my opinion, today is the same as it was by the prior engineer back in 1996, that we cannot, in my opinion, leave a piece of ground landlocked through a vacation. It has been the same type of thing in other small communities where people wanted to vacate pieces of ground that are just yard. But there are lots that, while they are not developed, they exist. They are platted lots. It would leave these lots landlocked, and because of the ability to transfer these lots to somebody else, even though one person owns them today, it would leave those parcels without permanent access, which is a violation.
So to the west of what ends Continental Avenue,
dead ends.
there are plotted lots beyond that?
They are not. It is farm field, but the city of Tiffin property, without that access that dead ends into them, would be landlocked.
Okay.
So vacating this would leave that parcel of land without
If the
legal
city of
access.
Tiffin did not own that property, then you would agree to vacate that?
I would see no reason not to.
No reason not to.
Right, I don't make, yes.
That's
yeah.
not your decision.
That is
but
correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, got it, because that whole field would go to Miami Street.
Yeah, the
They
whole
would have
field
access
has
out-
other access.
Yeah, okay. So the city's here, what's the, you let them speak?
I said, Brett, yes.
Yeah, if you'd like, my name is Brent Howard, Law Director for the City of Tiffin. Wanted to give you a little bit more background also on the property that the city owns. The city acquired the property in April of 1996, and it was acquired as a part of the Miami Street storm sewer project. If you may recall, people have been around for a long time, that area suffered from severe flooding when there was any significant rainfall. And so the city put together a project to install storm sewers from an area as from the west on Birchwood, the corporate limit, all the way then down along Miami Street to Kensington Avenue. So there were hundreds of properties within the storm sewer project. And this property was acquired as a part of that project because the engineering determined that we needed 2 detention basins in order to properly deal with stormwater when it came in, so that when water would come into the storm sewer, in order to allow for it to flow out properly to Wolf Creek, one of the Wolf Creek tributaries going out, that there needed to be detention basins so that the water would then fill up into these detention basins for a period of time and then slowly drain back out to avoid the flooding that had occurred. There's one detention basin on the far west side, right off of Birchwood, but this one, we have a detention basin that we installed on this property, and it has worked effectively. I think most people will agree that the flooding problems, it's not 100%, but the flooding problems that we had are much smaller and reduced because of the effectiveness of the project. This property is an integral part of that storm sewer project and the workings to help the nearby community. On a regular basis, we need to mow, we need to spray, we need to maintain that area properly so it works. There may be times that we need to bring in larger, heavier equipment when some of the piping needs to be replaced. There might need to be excavation. And in talking to our public works superintendent, the only way to bring in effectively without damaging other property, the only rights we really have to enter that property is through Continental Street. So for us to maintain that, the detention basin in that property, we need access on Continental Street. So that, if we don't, that would significantly have a negative impact on the storm sewer program that we have there and impact negatively many of the hundreds of property owners in that area. It's my understanding that the statute that you would need to follow is section 5553.04 of the revised code. And you make the determination based on whether the vacation will be for the public convenience or welfare. Well, I would urge you to not vacate the Continental Street and accept this petition, just for the reasons I explained. It is very important that the city has access to this property. It's our only access, and it doesn't happen very often. I'm sure Mr. Brickner will explain that and could tell you that we don't cross that area very often because it's been a newer facility. But I understand right now there is some need to go in there with some heavy equipment, and we need to get across that area to access it. So we would urge the commissioners not to approve the petition. And I will say, though, we try to avoid any interference with the people on Continental Street. It's not our desire to cause any problems with the property that Mr. Brickner mows, as he said, Continental Street. We want him to enjoy that property. We want to minimize the actual work that we would ever have to do across there. So we want to be really good neighbors, but we definitely need the access to our detention basin.
Okay, I think that the mayor wanted to add a couple of things, so Mayor Mons, do you have something to add to the conversation here?
Sure. Good morning, commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to speak this morning. Really, I'm not going to reiterate everything that the law director and the county engineer have already stated, because that would just be a waste of all of our time. It's just really to push forward with their concerns that this would landlock our parcel. I know when it comes to city vacations, which we have a lot of over the years, especially with alleys and other items, we would never allow for a parcel to be landlocked. We need to have access to that property because while the retention pond is fairly new now, the day will come that we'll have to replace tiles in there, that the pond at some point will have to be dredged and work completed. And if this Continental Street section was to be vacated, we would have no true access. And if all the adjoining property owners would not allow us to go through their lots, which could potentially cause damage, we would have no ability to improve or make any kind of changes to our retention pond in this area, which could lead to significant flooding on that whole Miami Street corridor, because that's where a lot of this drains to. So I would urge the commissioners to please deny this request, because we're going to landlock our parcel and lose complete access to it. So that's really all I have to add. I want to thank you for your time this morning, giving me the ability to speak. Thank you.
Thanks, Your Honor. Yes, Mr. Brickner.
The property you're talking about, I think it's been used once by you folks. But obviously you got access somewhere else. They mow it, they spray. I mean, they're getting in there from somewhere. And I just wonder how many accesses they really need. If they can get in there to spray and mow, I would think they'd be able to take care of anything that needs to be done in there.
Yes, sir.
And as far as our regulations go, there is access and then there's legal access. Only legal access is approved for any type of platting, any type of real access. A person can access their property any number of ways, through agreements, through easements, and while those serve and generally function adequately for a period of time, they are not permanent. They are not legally binding. Easements sometimes are, sometimes aren't. We only hold ownership as true access. So I understand what you're saying, but as far as our regulations go, your regulations go, the only access is a legal access.
Yes, sir.
Vincent Arnold, property owner to the east.
we've been providing the city with access since '96. There's a couple of large gates on our property to the east that the city has been using and is still welcome to use to get into, to maintain and mow and do what they need to do. I believe the property's fenced off from all other directions, so to my knowledge, it's only been accessed from our side. Our property also runs close to Continental Street, so we would like to see it vacated. And more importantly, I would like to see Mr. Brickner's home protected.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold.
Sure.
Yes, Brian?
Yeah, to Mr. Brickner's comment, I can add a little bit more information. We have access for mowing and spraying typically through a unwritten permission that's been granted by, as Mr. Arnold said, the property there just to the east. It's just his courtesy of allowing us to do that. It's more of a direct route from our Public Works property. And when we have light equipment, that works well because we don't damage the parking area and the pavement on their property. So, but that's just an informal. We have no legal right to do that. They could tell us at any time, no, don't access the property. But we do have a large gate on the north side that accesses Continental Street. And that's where we would need to bring in heavy equipment when we have to do some significant work, which I understand we may have to do in the near future because we may have to do some excavation. There's some problems right now with it staying wet, and so it doesn't function as properly as it should be. We have to fix some of the underground piping, and so we need to bring in heavy equipment, and the only way to do that is to go through Continental Street. If we did that across the Arnold property, we probably would damage it significantly with some of the large steel tracks vehicles that would have to go through there. So that gives you a little more explanation of our use over the years and why we though need the access off of Continental Street.
Thank you, Councilor. Yes, Mr. Brickner.
I've got a letter here from March of '97 from Kent Nord when he was working with this. And Mr. Howard, you're mentioned in this letter that you said unofficially the city would not object to the roadway being vacated if it was provided with an easement for the city use only. Do you recall that situation?
I don't specifically recall that, but that may be accurate. I don't recall that.
And I just wondered if anything had been any more consideration, or is it just kind of went bye-bye?
Yeah, I guess I would follow up though with the county engineer's comments that even if we were able to get some access by an easement right, we would not have a frontage ownership onto a public right-of-way, which would be in conflict with the subdivision design standards, regulations that the county has. So I think it would be something that would be contrary to your local law, and I don't think that would solve the situation. But as I said, Mr. Bricker, we work really hard to not interfere with your property, and we've always tried to accommodate you, and I think we'll always try to continue that.
Also, like that property is, other than that one time that I know was accessed, is being farmed by the local farmer, whoever farms the rest of that farm there. So it's under cultivation, so that section has been that way for 25 years. So I have no idea what the city, other than access to your pond, I have no idea what else we have reason to own it.
So, something I would like to say, the city purchased, I'm going to read this off because the city purchased their lot on April 25th, 1996, as he said. Pre-existing regulations of Ohio, Seneca County, Hopewell Township, and even Tiffin require a subdivided lot to have a road or street frontage. The city of Tiffin has a legal described easement that is required by law for buried conduits, for maintaining, including digging up and removal of debris and stuff. Also, they have 1 or 2 gates entering from the Arnold's property that are as large as the one on the north end of the property. At least 21 years of mowing and other general maintenance has been done through them gates.
It's been done through who?
Excuse
Who's been
me?
doing the maintenance?
The maintenance, mowing, and everything's been done through those two gates. One or both of those
City.
two gates. It's
By the
off
city.
Arnold's property, like Mr. Arnold said. By buying their lot that was subdivided from a larger lot, they themselves created a landlocked property based on the next two paragraphs. And those I'm gonna read this. Lot meaning, Seneca County subdivision regulations, lot meaning. 10/5 of 1995, that's prior to their purchase. The purpose of the regulations is a lot is a parcel of land sufficient of size to meet minimum requirements for use. And it goes on about Huron, spaces and that. Such lot shall have a minimum frontage on an improved public street or road or on an improved private street or road. So under 5553.10 recorded for proceedings, and this dates back 1972 and 1953, board shall make improvements, the last paragraph, a road or thereof which remains unopened for 7 years after the order of establishing it was made or authority for opening it shall be vacated, and the right to build in pursuit of establishment original proceedings therefore shall be barred. Now, Mr. Brickner's house was built in 1900. Under that, I believe that could be traced back beyond, well beyond 1953, the 7-year limits. And it goes on road construction. There's no way you can construct a road safely through that. That's what we're against, having any kind of a road structures through it. And as long as there's a right-of-way there, someone is going to say, oh, that's a road right-of-way, we're going to drive or 10,000-pound piece of farm equipment through it, or drive my car or truck through it at whatever rate they want. There's nothing barring them from doing it, as long as it's a right-of-way easement. It's safety. And I feel that all your responsibilities of county commissioners, is safety comes before anything else in it. And having a house on the right-of-way would create a safety issue. There isn't enough room to create any kind of a legal road in that area at today's regulations. And there is right-of-ways, easement of right-of-ways given for such things as utilities and that, which the retention pond would be considered facilities that would require that.
Stacy, what's the procedure?
Well, and just to note, he did ask about the prosecutor's office, and he had said from his perspective, there are two holes in granting this vacation. You know, one is the lack of a legal description for the parcel. There was no survey submitted with it. And the other main, from his perspective, that we would be landlocking a parcel. And it is not in his recommendation to landlock a parcel.
Okay. Yes, Counselor.
Thank you. Paul Burtis, I'm an attorney here in Tiffin. I'm here representing the Schreiner family. They own the lot to the farm ground to the west. And they purchased it in the last few years. I'm not exactly sure what year, but in part, they do have access otherwise off of Miami Street, but they also were looking at this as a possibility that they farm, but in the future, if development opportunities came up, they would not be adverse to that. They would be open to those ideas. And so they, from their personal perspective, they'd like to keep all of their options open, and therefore they would like the commissioners to not vacate the street, to keep it open, just to keep all the options open. But I understand, though, that in terms of the hierarchy of the commissioner's decision-making, that comes to the point, that comes under the consideration that was addressed earlier about the commissioners weighing what's in the public convenience and public's best interests. It seems to me, also having done quite a bit of real estate legal work, and I defer to, of course, the county prosecutor and the engineer. They know the rules better than I do. But there are instances as a lawyer when we've been looking at different options for properties, and we say, no, this cannot be done because it would landlock a parcel. And those rules apply across the board. They're not meant to be selective or not subjective rules. They are objective rules that everybody has to follow. And so it seems to me that before the commissioners can even get to the issue of what's in the public convenience, they have to determine whether this vacation would violate other rules and regulations that apply. And it seems like this vacation would violate other applicable rules that govern the rest of the development in this county. So for those reasons, we'd ask that.
How long have your clients owned the property?
Just a handful of years.
How many?
Only a handful of years.
That's less than 2.
Okay, yeah, they purchased relatively recently. But yes, they paid, and they paid, I think, a very fair price, in part, if there is opportunity to develop it, because as the commissioners well know, that this is a corridor in which there has been development in the last 15 to 20, 30 years, so.
Anything else? I don't think, I know I'm not prepared to make a decision about this today unless you guys want to
I was gonna say the same thing.
have any further discussion or make any specific motions. No?
I think something that needs to be considered is, when Mr. Brickner's house was built back in the 1900s, had it been considered already vacated, and the proper paperwork has never been done. According to the regulations, I think it needs, having sold personal property, real estate in the past, typical look back is 40 years for a piece of normal property. But when you start involving the street and alleys and so on, then you have to look back and see what the previous laws and regulations was. There's nothing in the laws that says who vacates it. It just says it shall be vacated after 7 years if not used. And according to that, I had that dated back to at least 1953, so it should have been vacated. There's nothing in those rules that says that it wouldn't have been vacated. And it's very possible it goes going back into the 1800s, and without someone doing the research on that, I feel you can't leave the right of way open. It'd be against safety regulations.
I guess I need to know exactly what the appeal process is, if we roll one way or the other, so we can advise that side what their, what their path might be. I don't know what that is at this point. We typically, real quick, Mark, you're on, but typically it's an alley vacation or something, and we go out and look at the site, the neighbors come out and
yeah, that didn't happen here, did it?
Somebody yells at you, and then you make a decision. So, in this case, it's the petition was made by the township itself. So, from a commissioner's standpoint, it does carry some additional weight, but it certainly is incumbent upon us to look at the people that it affects and what their thoughts are. Mark.
Yeah, just real quick, and once again, I'm not a lawyer. There's plenty of those in the room. But the 7-year rule, which is law, I believe that is under a different section of code for the acquisition of right-of-way, which is different than platted. We call this a right-of-way, but traditionally right-of-ways are the underlying fee, the underlying ownership of ground still holds with the landowner. But in platted areas, the ground is actually platted as a lot. It is not owned by the landowners. It is owned by, technically, the county commissioners. It is certified. It is given to them, and then ownership transferred to the township or the county for maintenance only. We dealt with this exact issue with the 7-year rule about 15 years ago when the state and the county went together to build a railroad overpass over Township Road 43 near Fostoria. We acquired large sums of right-of-way from all of the landowners through the process of acquisition for development. But after 7 years and the determination that that railroad overpass was not going to be developed, we were required to give that right-of-way back to the landowners because nothing had happened in that 7-year period. And once again, that's my understanding through working through this process. There are a lot of ways right-of-way are dedicated. There are a lot of ways right-of-ways are created, and there are a lot of ways that right-of-ways are vacated. However, we have to make sure that we follow the same section of code by which they were developed as which we are asking for them to be vacated. So like the section of code has different, same exact thing, that there are different ways to vacate. In 96 it was done by the landowners. Today it's being done by the township trustees. Different processes involved.
If that ground was platted out like it was in 1875 or whatever, that would have to have approval from the county commissioners, trustees?
I have no idea what the rules were in the 1800s.
That's where I'm coming from, because
but it was platted. This ground is not owned by the, for instance, Mr. Brickner and the landowner to the south do not own to the center of the road. They do not own to the center of the right-of-way. And where I live and where you live in the rural area, I actually own to the center of the right-of-way. I own that ground, it's mine. My legal description goes to the center of the road. Then the county, the state, the township has a right-of-way over it that limits my use. But I still own it, it is still mine. In the situation of platted subdivisions, all platted subdivisions, even ones we do today, and that piece of ground that the roadway sits upon is a dedicated parcel of land. It is not owned by the adjacent landowners, so it's not something that the underlying fee still lies with the landowner, like if we were out in a rural area.
So Mr. Brickner's paying for 5 acres, which was the original plot.
Nope.
He's paying taxes on the original 5 acres. That's a fact.
Maybe, but he's not paying on the right-of-way. Everywhere that we show right-of-way.
His property line
The
is,
property line is south of the roadway, right?
yes.
And we
His
the
west-
whole road, everywhere down the road, everybody's property line ends up on the south side of the roadway.
Yeah, I do know, because we work with the auditor's office for those maps, and if it's not being done correctly, it should be corrected.
Yes, I
But we
agree.
work with them on developing those right-of-way maps, because even where I live, where I own to the center of the road, the right-of-way is taken off, that you are not charged taxes on your right-of-way.
Well, Mr. Brickner's west property line is 1,464 feet long per all the documentations that we've seen. And that stretches from the railroad right away to the corner of the Arnold's property on the west side.
Okay.
That's when you calculate that out, that's a full 5 acres, and that's what Mr. Brickner's been paying taxes on since they purchased the property.
Yeah,
Also,
that's not what-
since the county or township trustees have to give the authority of a plat, and like you said, you don't know what the regulations was back in the 1800s. And I don't think anyone here does, unless they researched it. A road or part thereof which remains unopened for 7 years after the ordering and establishment it was made or authorized for opening, it shall be vacated. And the right to build on it and pursue it to establishment, the original proceedings therefore shall be barred. I mean, there you go, both things, whether it was platted or by county.
Like I said, I'm not a lawyer, but I disagree with that section of code.
Yes, we
so
do have a lawyer.
That's something that we
Just
need
to
to.
add to that point that was raised about that last section, and I think he's referring to 5553.10. And the county engineer gave an excellent example to illustrate how that section is applied. It's applied to, I think there was a bridge situation where there was an improvement. And that section deals with when there's an improvement and you're acquiring property to build that improvement. And in the case if you don't need that acquired property, then in a short period of time, then I think that's the policy behind the statute, is saying it's vacated. You can't continue to own it. That's different than a platted street, a road that we're talking about. So the section that is mentioned doesn't have application for what we're talking about here. It's for the example that the county engineer described.
Okay.
There was an opinion given by the Ohio Attorney General back in I don't have the date on it right now. I can give you the number. The right-of-way of a township road established by common law, dedication, or prescription includes both the improvement road surfaces used for travel and much of the land immediately adjacent. Efficient use of such road surface for actual travel. That was 1988. So there is no road surface for travel on there.
Okay. After we've heard everything that we've heard, we will give it to the prosecutor again to have him review the arguments that have been made and ask for his advice. As someone aptly stated, more specifically, none of us are attorneys. So we would need to get an opinion from counsel to make a decision. So that's what we will do.
Would that be possible to have another meeting and hearing on this and let everyone concerned that's involved
That would be something I'd have to, I check the prosecutor on, I'm not sure. I think, I mean, the requirement is to have a hearing, which we have.
This would be considered the final hearing then?
I don't think you can. And once again, we'll talk to Derek about that, but the purpose of a hearing is to get all the people here. And you can ask questions and you can go out and get more, but if you come to a hearing and then that answers more things, if then other people can bring other people in to have another hearing.
Yeah.
I believe that has already been litigated, and we'll check with Derek again, but the short answer is I believe once you have a hearing, that is the hearing. Same thing with our dish petitions.
So I'll just make a comment. So normally I would, if the township trustees would recommend it, Jim, for me, I would, and then the citizens came in, I would lean to just approve it. But I personally lived through, I owned a piece of property in Sandusky County. I actually was part of an LLC that owned property in front of it. And we wanted to run a road back and give a perpetual easement off of the property in the front to the back, and we were denied because we couldn't landlock that piece of property. And then we tried to figure out a way to sell a piece of property. So for this example, it would be Arnold Vending. If you were to sell or work out an arrangements with the city for them to own a piece of land right from Miami Street back, and then give the city would give you rights to it. Would that, influence my decision? I don't know. But I personally don't like, even after hearing everything, and I will listen to the prosecutor, but I really don't like landlocking that property. That's my opinion right now. I think this, it's been nice for all those years because, and you have the city, I guess this field next door, potential development kind of maybe changes some thought process going forward. Yeah, I have a hard time landlocking that property.
Yes, sir.
Just one short comment from Hopewell Township.
Yes.
We strongly support this vacation, and I don't see in the future that getting developed and Continental Street taken to that west property line, east property line of the Shriners property. But I just wanted to let you know that we do support the vacation, and I don't foresee that ever getting developed.
Okay, thank you.
One of the other things, like I mentioned to start with, the property was bought after the establishment of the rules of not being able to landlock a piece of property. Basically, the city bought a piece of property that by dividing it, landlocked it. So it was landlocked prior to it because there was no permanent, maintained roadbed going to it.
Okay.
It's short by 150 some feet, I believe it is.
Yeah.
153, 154 feet.
Okay.
So how?
We will refer to our prosecutor
They landlocked it themselves.
for some advice, and we'll take it up again within the month, probably next week. Okay.
Close the hearing.
Pardon me?
Close the hearing.
We need a motion to close the hearing.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Make a motion that we close the hearing.
Okay, now second.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Schuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso,
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner.
Yes. Okay, so we've done that. We are at new business, I think.
Well, TSEP was not done.
Oh, geez, I'm sorry, Nick. Yeah.
Part two. Sequel.
Audrey and Chandler were so good, I thought we were all right.
If we want to stop with them, that's fine. I can live with that.
Yeah. While you're ahead, Mike, is that what you're trying to tell us?
I'll vote 2-1.
5-minute recess.
Yeah.
Just kidding, Nick.
It's all right. No one.
We like to make it hard on you. It's working, isn't it?
It is work.
You want me to go to your car and get some?
Can we go over some pizza for the rest of the afternoon? Yeah.
It's about that time.
David, I may leave as soon as I'm done with my comments.
I think that's a good idea.
He just got there, but he knows that we're running late.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Those things are always cut and dry always.
How are you doing?
Life is good.
What's that?
How are you doing?
Maybe if we're gonna leave, we should recess.
She didn't want to lie there.
Yeah, I did.
She was like, there's gotta be a happy medium.
Yeah, oh, okay.
We're still in a public meeting.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all.
That's right, that's
All I
right.
will say, Stacy, is I much prefer Audrey's vacation.
Yes.
What vacation? What?
Wrong kind of vacation.
Oh goodness, here we go, vacation.
Promise I won't bring up any
Are we being
ditches
recorded?
or
Did I
any
say that?
Were you
roads.
crying about vacation?
Yeah.
It wasn't
We were during recess.
No, mine was.
Did we recess? I didn't hear it.
I didn't hear it. He said 5 minutes.
Okay. Did we take a vote on that?
No, we didn't, so we're still in.
Still in public session.
We're in session.
Chairman just can't declare a recess.
No.
I'll check with Robert's rules, but
I wanna look at Robert's rules.
I think that could be taken advantage of if you think about it. Oh, you don't like the vote? You'll just call a recess for infinite time.
I think a president has done that before. They adjourned a meeting.
Robert's rule says if somebody calls for adjournment, you have to vote on that immediately.
Yes, you do.
Yes. So I'm pretty sure you would have to vote on a recess.
This chair adjourned meeting.
So that's why we're
But
still.
the chair of the board, according to Robert's rules, can call a meeting adjourned if there's no other business.
That's correct.
no-
But
There
if
is
someone,
when there's no other.
if someone calls for an adjournment, that has to be voted on
But
before any other business
Unless
is moved
there's
forward.
an objection, then it calls
Correct.
for a vote.
Yeah.
Nobody follows Robert's rules anymore anyway.
Right.
Yes, I do.
Yes, they do.
There's a small percentage of people.
Realize who you're talking to. The league.
I mean, in theory, you know, according to Robert's rules, in theory, I should vote. The only time a chairman votes is to break a tie.
Or make a tie.
Well, I think the ORC rules over Robert's rules.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you're a public
It's like
body.
Central Committee.
Good to see you.
Subcommittee for Republican Party.
Yeah.
We had
Hello.
chairman in that case.
Sir, how are you?
Good to see you.
Was the only one to vote
Anything
against
for me?
it. So in theory, he didn't even have a vote.
Already, so, you know,
Which we did end up breaking.
I think it's a continuum. It's a
I can
spectrum.
tell you one thing, I've called the question a number of times.
First thing, we were like, do a couple things in the morning, and then we just did.
Amy, what'd you do to your ankle?
No, no.
Like we would just say.
It's not broken. I had x-rays yesterday. It's really swollen. They
Thomas, you comfortable back there? You have to get a cushion for that seat.
You know what you need? That's like those stadium things. You bring to a stadium, you sit on the pads.
How are you?
The little chairs. Hey, why did you? Where's Jimmy? Brandon.
I use this thing all the time.
Oh, that's a
I use it all the time.
I like
With
that.
with the logo. I'm not even
We could use a couple
Poor
more.
Beershot, you been here?
pass them out.
Hey, I'm gonna charge you. Are you catching up on your email and?
Okay, we are back in session from our illegal recess.
Oh, jeez.
Dick,
All right, thank you for having us. Here to talk about industrial and commercial development, as well as some other items. So we'll start off by just talking a little bit about. Let's see, are we working?
Well, it was. Right left.
Did I break it?
I don't know, maybe. Let me get this off the screen. Well, that's what happens when we take a break.
Stacy, I may have you just move it forward
Move
then.
forward, okay.
All right, so thank you.
Out of practice on this, sorry guys.
No worries. So while Stacey's bringing that up, I'll just mention some things. So, been a busy year so far, which is great news in development. Working through a lot of major initiatives. I'll get into a lot of that later. One of the big things I've done this year is get my Ohio Certified Economic Developer certificate, or my Ohio Economic Developer certification. So that was some good work. I'm excited to be done with that process and be working for the county and growing our economy. Looking back at unemployment, our most recent statistics are from July. So we had a 5.6 unemployment rate, which is just slightly above both the state and U.S. average, which are seasonally adjusted, those two. The local is not. But just slightly above the 5.4 in July of 2021. I will give, though, a caveat. We had a 6.3% unemployment in June. So we're seeing that number tick down. We're also, as we talked with Carol, we are seeing the labor force grow slightly. We hope that will continue over the next coming months. As more people re-enter the labor force. We were very excited to announce in March of this year that we were ranked number 4 in the country for large economic development projects by Site Selection Magazine. So that is out of 581 micropolitans, similar sized municipalities. We're even quite a bit larger than us municipalities. So this is the 6th time we placed in the top 10 for ever. And then this is now 10 years that we've been in the top 100 communities. So this is something we share with our partners in Fostoria. We're incredibly proud of this, So if I can get to the next slide there.
Sure.
Oh, thank you. So some things that we've announced in the first 6 months of the year. We began the year with a great announcement that Centricity Automation was recently acquired and moving their production to Seneca County in the North Star Industrial Park. Very exciting to have another new company in the area. That's 3 new companies, 3 new manufacturers that located in Seneca County within the 2020-2021, early 2021 footprint there. So incredibly exciting. We haven't had a new manufacturer since I believe 2003 when Toledo Molding and Die, or Grammar as they are now, came to the area. We also announced at our annual meeting this year that Sunoco Products was doing another expansion of their building. So this was the first spec building that was developed by SIDC in the early 1990s. After the North Star Industrial Park was announced, they will be adding jobs, but most importantly, this will help them to continue to grow further, and shows their investment and commitment to our area, which we're incredibly excited about. Some other recent announcements. We, Tiffin Foundry and Machine, received a grant through Jobs Ohio. An inclusion grant is what it is called. So they received $50,000 towards some new machinery and equipment there. Again, helping them grow and maintain their footprint here in the community. They'll also be adding a number of new jobs, 3 new jobs to the company there. And then recently we did an announcement for Custom Machine Inc. They're located in Liberty Township. They just finished a $240,000 machinery and equipment purchase for their company, and they'll be adding 3 new employees in the next few years. Looking ahead to 2021, Mike, you're on the committee, so you know that this is where we've been doing this, but the Economic Development Committee through TCEP has been hard at work to develop our next speculative industrial building. So just 2 weeks ago, Tiffin City Council had passed an agreement, a purchase agreement for land in Eagle Rock Industrial Park. For Development Solutions, is the same group that put together the last spec building where TH Plastics is now at. This is fully funded by private investor, and we hope that this will be our next great manufacturer or a local company considers expanding into this space. So they're already doing site work. We expect that they'll be doing construction here very shortly on a 50,000 square foot building. Again, when we're talking spec buildings, what we're talking about is an industrial shell building, a steel building. Doesn't have floors poured, but is ready to go. So a company could potentially be, come into one of these and in a very short time be production ready. That was the case with TH Plastics, which moved in that property there off of Tiber Road. Working on 50 projects. So most of those are, obviously, I do a lot of industrial as well as some commercial, but I'm working on these at least monthly. I'm checking in with companies who are looking to either grow, be that by employees or machinery and equipment. And as we know, many companies are looking for employees right now. Also working on a number of what we call BRNEs, business retention and expansion meetings. So these are company meetings. We are doing some of these internally. Carol and I have been meeting with a number of companies. As she mentioned, the Fortune 500 program. Our partnership with COACT has given us a number of connections with companies that we haven't been able to reach out to before, or we don't get to touch as often as we would like. So we've been able to get into some of these companies that we haven't had the connections with previously. And then likewise, we've had meetings where Jobs Ohio has brought either sector directors or representatives from the Toledo office, and we've been meeting with companies. So we continue to do that. It's something that we continue to grow in. We've had a lot of really good conversations on that front as of late. Finally, the last thing I'll mention of our projects we've been working on currently. Earlier this month, we launched our RFP, our request for proposals for new website footprint. Now, this isn't just for TSEP. We are a partner in this. TSEP will be developing a new website, as well as our downtown will have a separate but connected website with us. As you're probably aware, the county also threw in on this. They are also seeking proposals for redevelopment of your website. And then the city of Tiffin has also, and then the sheriff's office was the fourth member of that. So we're looking forward to getting those proposals back at the middle of October, at which point we should hopefully have a number of options that we can move forward with. At this point, no cost to any of us. These are proposals only. And we're excited to see what comes in so that we can have a professional looking web presence for, again, not just TSEP, but hopefully these other partners as well. And as you're aware, I handle our media relations, so wanted to quickly go over what our footprint's looking like there. So in the first 6 months, or actually up until now, we've produced 69 press releases for just TSEP alone. 23 through a contract we have with the city of Tiffin. I will back up for a minute and say that 5 of those releases have been just projects that are in rural Seneca County. So we're seeing some growth, new companies come in. Copper Mare Ranch was a very recent one that announced a big project out there, I believe in Liberty or Pleasant Township. And then, as I mentioned previously, Custom Machine Inc. in Liberty Township. So we're seeing some great projects just even outside of the city of Tiffin, outside of Fostoria. These have resulted in 124 stories in print and online media, which is fantastic. I broke down the numbers a little bit. That's about 1.5 stories to every press release we put out. So I think that's a really good poll. We're seeing a lot of pickup for our content. And then finally, we've had TV stations, most notably WTOL, which covers our county really well. We've had 14 stories and clips on the regional television news, so very excited about that as well. With that takes up my time. Any questions for the commissioners or anyone else in the audience?
I had a question. What's the status on Seneca Tile?
So I actually spoke with them recently, so nothing I can discuss immediately, but they're working through some things, and we're hoping that they might be back up and running. So they are maintaining a workforce at their company, and I have been giving them some assistance and getting to the next step where hopefully they can produce again.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, so much. I apologize, I have to run, but thank you. It was great seeing everyone.
Okay, my turn. I'm Amy Reichert. I'm Director of Downtown Revitalization with TSEP, and I'm going to keep it very brief. I know everybody wants to get out of here, and we also have the summit next week, so here goes. All right, so a lot of growth. I kind of broke it down by quarter here. Quarter 2, we had 3 new businesses open downtown. Best Taco Shop, Unboxed Treasures, and Hope's Landing, which is in association with Sisters in Shelter. This is a new endeavor they're taking on. Again, not going to dig in too far. Quarter 3, we've had 2 new businesses open up so far in the downtown as well. 70 projects going on in quarter 2. So quarter 3, you're down to 61. That's great news because that means things are getting done. That's new businesses opening. That's signage going up. That's buildings getting renovated. That's completed projects. So seeing good progress there. Initiatives. So in quarter 2, the Downtown Tiffin Business Directory was completed. This is an interactive site put together by the Business Enhancement Committee. This is your opportunity to go in and search for products and services available in the downtown. You can find it on downtowntiffinevents.com. There's a button at the top of that page, but it'll link you directly to their websites and then in turn give you access to any e-commerce sites that are available. Business recruitment survey was put together. That is actually completed. We're very excited about that. We got results here this summer, but again, you're going to have to go to the summit to hear the results. Art policy, that is something that was put together by Design Committee that is currently at City Council, and that is going for the 3rd reading. So the art policy is similar to the Architectural Board of Review. It just is a regulating body that you can bring art installations in. You can talk about who owns them, how they're insured, where they're going to go, what is an eligible art installation, those types of things. So that is just a regulating body that they're going to be creating. And lastly, I'll just jump into some events. We have had just a great influx of people in the downtown this year. It has been great. Third Thursdays, our goal is to bring 1,000 people into downtown. The Cruising into Summer Car Show, we had well over 1,500 people. It was a fantastic event. What's that?
Yeah.
It was fun. There were a lot of people. Sweet Summertime was great. We had stuff going on all over downtown, from concerts to tie-dyeing and other fun things. Taste of Downtown Tiffin happened. Trivia nights are monthly as well, going on Third Thursdays. And then the Downtown Summer Stroll was great. That's an event put together by the retailers, but again, bringing in a bunch of people into the downtown. So, you know, we're working on the initiatives to get things done. We're working on the projects to improve the overall look of downtown. We're bringing people into downtown. So, comprehensive look on how downtown becomes great. The last thing I do want to mention, though, as far as events go, next Thursday, so 1 week from today, is the Main Street Summit and Celebration. That's your chance to get a whole lot more detail on all of this stuff. Like I said, I'm keeping it brief right now. Starts at 5:30. We will have Senator Schuring out to speak on the value of downtown revitalization. It'll be Downtown Awards. We've got No Eileen playing, so it'll be a celebration. Food, there'll be a cash bar, so come out and enjoy with us. We do have a big announcement that evening, but you want to go to tiffinsummit.com for your tickets.
Location of that is?
Chandelier.
Did you say that? I just missed it, huh?
No, I didn't actually mention it, so thank you for asking.
You're doing a good job because I've gotten 3 emails now about get my ticket.
Good.
I don't think any of you have signed up yet.
Well, we would love if you would, if you're
We're-
gonna sign up, we'd
we're
love
good.
if you do it today, only
Yeah.
because it's 1 week out and I gotta
Caterer
get
and
the
stuff.
information to the caterer today.
Thank you.
So please, if
You
you're
don't
gonna
need a
join
4-time, Amy, we're okay.
us. You may see something today. All right, I'm gonna pass off to David.
Thank you, Amy. All right, I got 3 slides I'm going to cover, and then we're done. So, first thing I want to talk about is, you know, this is a little bit of review of second quarter, and we're in the middle of the third quarter. And what I've got up here is a depiction of the team, but the positions in which they're slotted, you can kind of see how the organization has grown since I came. So, you know, if you look at, you know, Karina came in 2021, but that position was really at the same time as 2014. You know, the organization was, okay, so actually I think this got maybe changed. So these are when folks got here, but if you look at these positions, these were in 1990. So that's when Rich started. Kieran started a little bit before him. So the top, Karina provides that administrative support, that financial support, that team support. Karen Bowers did that. She also did some brownfield. And then you had Rich doing all the work of all the projects and that kind of thing. Rich helped get some of the funding for the downtown plan that was done in 2010, and they did the Ralph's parking lot and the All Patriots Memorial to get those brownfields done. So it was kind of Rich running point and doing. Whoa, am I like making it move?
No.
Okay.
You're fine.
Rich running point on all and doing all the work, and Karen providing that support. And so in 2014, when we brought in Amy Reinhardt, that position was created because we absorbed Tiffin tomorrow, and we began to work on downtown revitalization. The reason I have this up here and I'm talking about this because we've had huge developments in the last 2 quarters in this is because everything is designed, our mission is to facilitate projects. How do we get more economic downtown community development projects to happen that improve the quality of life, generates more public tax revenue, which pays for services, and creates more jobs, and puts money in the people's pocket. So that's what we're about. So everything we do in these positions that have been created are all about expanding our ability to facilitate more projects and then creating an environment in which those projects can happen. So downtown, we've heard from traditional economic development people, the heart of your county seat is huge in people's opinion of the entire county. So it's kind of a one representation of it. And so that's why it's so critical, and we hear that from site selectors, we hear that from other people, that when they're driving through your county seat and they look at it, that gives them a quick impression, especially if they're not from here, or if they've moved here and they're here, and the county's a big deal in downtown. So huge participant, and it's the county seat. So the full-time economic development position that Nick has was created really in 2016 to have a full-time person working on, industrial, commercial, and residential development. Bryce was the first person in that slot when that was created. In 2018, I had always worked with Carol, so 17, 18, when she really became an adopted member, fully integrated at our weekly meetings, in our customer relationship management system, really integrated in a way that no one else is, working together on an unprecedented level, became part of the team, wasn't an employee but part of the team. The county was the leader in really creating Audrey's position and providing more resources that we came up with the position, someone who could do rural entrepreneurship and also do the community development. And with the addition of Karina, Audrey's really going to be able to come under her own in that particular position, as she already has, but will continue to develop. And then in the last 2 quarters, a little historical context for the fact that we added Karina, which is something super excited to support. We finally had enough folks going on, we really needed it. And it was at the point where the whole team was like, we love everything, everybody loves everything, don't want us to stop doing anything. As a matter of fact, people wanted to do us more. Like, we needed that support. So just want to give her a huge shout out. And then an amazing opportunity that came up, Chandler's position, again, really appreciate all the partnering school districts, but Tara and Vanguard for really stepping up when Amy moved away to say, how are we going to get this done? And we were happy to respond to their request to be the home for this position, because at the end of the day, what Carol and Chandler are working on are going to determine whether you're not successful economic development from an economic development perspective. So huge, really hired Karina. That process started in April. She came on board a couple months ago, and Chandler, we got that done, and he started this week. So team development been huge last couple. So that's number 1. Other key initiatives. Northwest Crew Ready. So prior to Chandler, I was working a lot on keeping that going, getting it, things where it needed to be, and getting it set up for him to take over. And I feel like we're in a really good spot there. The next thing is CEO. I have been as vice chair. I've been really serving in a leadership role as our great partner over at North Central Electric, working together and kind of splitting up duties, getting that ready to launch. So that is launched, and we have a facilitator who's on board working with the kids. So that's been a lot of work, but super excited about all the work that Audrey's put in, North Central Electric has put in, and I've put in, we put in. Third Rural Broadband Task Force, that RFP should be going out Monday. We've been getting some additional comments from the revised request for proposals that we put out on Monday. So we've been getting those, having another meeting today with someone, Agile. So, again, talking to different folks. And then the Entrepreneurial Opportunity Clearinghouse, as Audrey talked about, that's something she and I have been working on really hard. We had a win with Bird Scooters, and the second one with a person of a business that's going extremely well. We hope something by the end of the year to be able to successfully announce our hope. Nothing's promised, nothing's guaranteed, that would be taken over by somebody and continue, so that we don't have the Hope Roy situation, we don't have the surf and turf situation, we don't have the Temcon situation, and we can find capital and entrepreneurs to come together and take over this business throughout Tiffin and Seneca County. So those are exciting things that have been going on, are going on right now. And then I like to recount, last slide, where are we at with the scope? And so I used this same slide when we updated you earlier this year. So in our 6 big areas projects, our goal was $40 million of new announced investment, 100 new job positions that are created that companies are trying to fill. We're at $40 million, 367 new jobs. Right now, the problem isn't the job creation, it's the job filling. And so that's why the workforce development gets to be so important, both with adults, as Carol focuses on, and the youth, which Chandler's going to be focusing on. Programs, we continue to manage successfully the programs we have. Organization, we're going to be doing some, the county put in more public fundraising. We're going to be going and trying to recruit new members. We did bring, so that's, it's not, the official isn't underway, but Terra State joined our board, joined our organization as a gold level member, as well as Fried Foods. And so we've had some people join our members, but by the end of the year, we want to do another campaign. Last one we did was in 2014, so that's like the one thing that's not, strictly speaking, underway. Nick talked about the spec building, been announced. The purchase agreement with the city, just approved by city council, that's moving forward. And we're working very hard on expansion of the industrial park. And we appreciate the county and other partners who've helping us look at creative ways to really expand the ground, because we have very, very limited amounts, so we need to get some more. It's critical, and I appreciate the county's support both on the committee and in general for understanding how important that is for Seneca County residents and workforce. Retention expansion. So thanks to some of the work Carol did in getting a grant, our partnership with folks on COAC, we have reached out to 567 businesses throughout Seneca County with a significant increase in the rural area, which is really what that allowed to do to get smaller businesses that we just didn't have time to do. So if you start doing the math on that, that's like, that's close to, 80 a month that we're connecting. And many of those we've connected with additionally. And so 100 to 200 companies we've reached out to more than once and have connected with and had conversations with. And also another 100 and plus we're actually directly assisting or have assisted. So super exciting. And then communication and marketing, Nick talked about the website, and that's also a great partnership with the city. Super thrilled to see Sheriff Stevens. But again, we're hoping reduce cost and more effective and stay connected. So we're pleased with where our progress is to date, but we're always pleased, we're never happy. We're always striving for more. But let's see if there's any questions for me or any of the team who's here.
Great reports.
Okay, thank you. I'm headed off to the same business lunch that Nick is, and
Thanks.
So appreciate you all very, very much. Thank you.
So let's, under new, do we have any other old business?
No.
Under new business, let's go to supplemental appropriations, if you will.
Okay.
'Cause I think that Marcia has some input.
Do you want to skip to that? Yeah, real quick. I can do
Please,
that
so
one.
respect the time. If he
Sorry, Marcia.
It's fine.
So, if you have any questions for him, we had a resolution authorizing the Board of Seneca County Commissioners to sign the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections Subsidy Grant Agreement for Target Community Alternatives to Prison, which is the TCAP program. It looks like it is for $392,488 will be paid over a 2-year period, 22 and 23.
So I understand that the judges actually applied for that grant, Marcia?
Correct. We applied first time 4 years ago. We're going into year 5 and year 6. So we received this the last 2 cycles. So now is again to accept the funds for the next 2 years. As Stacy mentioned, $392,488.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of Marcia regarding the TCAP grant?
No, I think.
No, it's great stuff. Thank you very much for being here. Okay.
Hope you enjoyed our meeting.
Yeah.
You gotta ask him more questions since I made him stick around for all this time. There's gotta be more questions.
Well, I know I'm coming back September 30th. I believe I'm on agenda about the Ottawa County merger.
We'll put you on first.
Yes, they were scheduled, but this wasn't really scheduled. But this is a grant for the judges, common police court judges, impacts F4 and F5s, really to offer them more treatment and keep them in the county jail instead of sending them to prison.
The F4 is new this year, though. They're
Correct. But there is obviously there are some exceptions to F4 and F5s.
That's felony 4s and felony 5s are being jailed locally as opposed to going to prison. And for that, the state compensates us.
Correct. Now again, it can be exceptions, and the judges know that if they reoffended or if
have some sexual charges or violent charges, they can still go to prison. And I do know the portion of the funds, I believe the judges agreed to disperse to the Seneca County Sheriff's Office, $120,189 out of the total. And the rest will stay with the common police court judges. We as the mental health board are gonna do all the quarterly reporting to the state, but we'll do that in kind. Thank you.
I always thought a felony 5 was worse than a felony 1, but I've been advised that felony first is worst, so.
Correct.
Felony 4 and 5s are closer to misdemeanors than they are felony, they're still not. Okay, the rest of the supplemental appropriations then.
Yes,
Thank you.
I've got the sheriff on first. Again, sorry, Sheriff, for the delay. He's been patiently waiting. He's at a conference and he's been patiently waiting. He has submitted a total request for $375,167.07. The majority of these, and I don't see the salaries listed on this sheet. Oh, yep, you got the 125,000 for
Salaries.
Yeah, just gotta figure out which one's for the road and which one's for the jail.
3,000 per.
125,000 for his roadside, $600 for Medicare, and then the other large one is the, back up here,
120 for prison side?
yeah, for the jail side, yeah.
Okay.
And the remaining, there's 500 in other expense. Obviously, the Medicare and PRS lines to go along with it, 3,500 and 40,000. There was an additional, there was some error in calculations for the actual sheriff's salaries, his salary by the auditor's office, so that's being corrected. The $32.50, Medicare, $3.35. And the criminal sentencing, $231.22. There is a request for equipment for $17,000, software licensing service for $18,000, contract services for $33,000, and contract repairs for $15,300. And I think, I mentioned in the email sent to you that, my only concern is we've supplemented $712,000 so far this year, and I know Sheriff has his reasons, and he's here to explain what the needs are. It's just hard for me. We've not done this since I've been here, such a large increase over a 1-year period for an elected official. So it's just hard for me to swallow. I know he's looking out the best interest of the citizens in his department, but
Okay, well, let's put it in perspective. The budget for the sheriff at the beginning of this year was $5.9 million. Is that correct?
Yep.
With this request, the total spending for the sheriff would be in the range of $7 million.
Correct.
Or about 1.1 million more than we started out with in 2021. That's about, round figures, a 20% increase from the original budget. So we have indeed approved 700,000, or in round figures that amount so far this year. That's a snapshot of where we are today. I'll let the other commissioners talk about their thoughts about the additional request.
So the salary lines in this request, we approved some adjustments, a new contract, and that contract is retro back to January 1st.
Correct.
Right, so there's some dollars that, so when you gave us the $712,000 prior to today, you must not, evidently you didn't take in consideration those increases.
Because we didn't know we were going to do wage increases.
We didn't We didn't
No,
know.
we had the 2% in at the beginning of the year. We did a 71,000 in this one line because of the 2% that we knew we would get, but we did not know until last month when we approved the
Okay.
changes in the salaries of
But,
employees.
okay. And then, does your projection, this 7.7 plus as it stands, does that include, looking forward to next year, also this year, Commissioner, would that include hires and people that have, positions that have not been filled yet?
The jail side amount includes the additional employees that you've authorized him to earlier in the year. He had also requested some deputies, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sheriff, I do not think, we hadn't approved those additional deputies yet, so I do not think it's in this request.
That's correct.
So the 122 does include the additional jail officers, but the 125 does not include any additional hires.
Correct.
Okay. So, of course, you know, when you're talking about increase in expenses, you ask where the money's coming from. We had talked earlier in the year about the probability that the jail revenue would increase from last year. Where are we at with that? Both, that's for both Stacy and the mayor, or the mayor, the sheriff.
I don't think any of those positions have been filled yet. Sheriff, you can speak on that.
Revenue-wise.
Revenue-wise, no, we haven't got the new contract.
What's going on with the revenue, sheriff?
So where we're at is we just now got to the full staffing that we should have been at, hiring-wise, due to the training process and the applications, process of having to go through the correct way of hiring people. It takes, 2 to 4 weeks to do that process, and it takes another 4 to 7 weeks to train the people. So now we're into hiring the first of the 5 that you've allotted me. I'd like a chance to talk about the previous money appropriations if you would give me some time for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So out of today's 375,000 that you're talking about, due to my calculations, approved appropriations to date are just around 600. Hang on 1 second. Let me pull it back up. It timed out on me. Where am I at here?
Is this what you have?
678,171 and 38. From that, there's 208,900 of that is hazard pay that you guys approved that was attached to this appropriation. So really there should be 469,271.28 that's been sub-app to the sheriff's office, not the 700,000 number that's being thrown around. And it still is, because the 208,900 was the hazard pay, but correct me if I'm wrong, that comes out of the COVID money, so that's not out of the general fund.
Yeah, the 2,000 would not have come out of your budget. That would have come out of the ARP money.
Correct.
So that's
but that was appropriated to us.
That was not included in this calculation, no. The 712,000 is what we've supplemented the 3 budgets that you have, the court security, the road, and the jail side. $712,547.68. Does not include those hazard pay.
Then I would have to sit down with you, because that's not what I have on my side. But today's 375 is 291,100 of that is the contractual agreements that the commissioners approved that just finally went through, that was thrust upon me because it should have been done last year by the previous administration. So I had to negotiate those with your guys' approval. And so today, now it's time to go pay the back pay to January 1st, because they should have been getting their contractual pay since then. Plus, we have to project till the end of the year with all the employees as well. So out of the 375 being requested today, 291,100 goes to the back pay and the future pay for the contractual increases and the rate increases that was agreed upon. So the other line items that are being requested today is just 83,800. And those are all items that are needed to get to the end of the year projections due to what was spent at the beginning of the year, the gas prices increases, the mechanical vehicle repairs that we've had to do, which is way above what we've done in the last couple of years according to the averages. And mainly that's due to we still do not have 3 of the 4 vehicles that you graciously allotted us, the 2 additional ones. By the end of October, we should have them, but it's caused increases in our repair bills for our vehicles that are nickel and diming us because we haven't been able to get rid of the older vehicles that are falling apart. Again, with the equipment lines and the software license line, those are things that when I first came into office, technology needed to be increased, the equipment needed to be fixed. Those are things that we spent money on in the beginning that on things that weren't budgeted. Again, when I come into office, I didn't have any say into the budget of what was prepared for this year. And to have a properly professional office with equipment that isn't falling apart and training that was non-existent in the previous budget lines from previous administrations, it is going to cost some increases. But one of the things that with the county bonuses and the contractual raises, that's half of the hazard pay and the contractual raises, that's $500,000 that's being accounted for that I didn't ask for, but is contractually and was given to them with the hazard pay stuff.
Well,
so some of this stuff, and then like today, there's a $49,000, it's not an ask, it's just a movement from the court security over to the roadside because the lieutenant that was over at the court side was put on admin, as an admin lieutenant on the roadside budget area, but his pay's been come out of the roadside. So we had a surplus over there in the court side, and I wanted to bring that over to the roadside to cover our deficit of paying him out of that side as well. So those are just some of the explanations. But you guys, I gave you a tour about a week or two into the administration, and you saw the need for the fixes and the repairs that were immediate, mold and just the broken equipment, the air handlers and stuff like that, and it's taken a toll on a lot of the line items that we had to move stuff around, and Stacy was gracious with us in allowing us to take some stuff from areas that normally we wouldn't do. And I'm here to say to you, we won't have these issues next year because after 9 months, we've really made some headway in a lot of the fixes. We're still waiting on the grant to come through from the state. Hopefully that does come through. But there's still some of the issues that I'm trying to fix that was handed to me. For example, we could have easily got a body camera grant. We would have been at the top of the list, but we're not submitting data to the state, and we're not LIBRs and NIBRs, which is National Incident-Based Reporting System, and we're not Ohio Collaborative Certified, which is the policies and procedures from the past administration, and the computer system that isn't upgraded from the past administration doesn't complete that. So we were denied that grant, and they've been denied grants in the past because of those two things. Those are both are being worked on and will be fixed before the end of the year, actually probably before October. But it doesn't help us with this current round of grant that we got denied and found out that those were the reasons why it was denied. So there's issues that were passed on to me that does cost money. It does cost salary, increases for projected, how to get out of the liability issues that we're in. But some of this stuff that I'm requesting, that it looks like, the sheriff's back requested 375, 291 of that today is because of the contractual issues that we all agreed upon for the pay increases to be able to maintain the people that we have and recruit the new people. So in reality today, the issue is 83,800 for those line items to get to the end of the year.
But those
Okay.
the
same,
projections that we have as of today.
Let me make sure I understand. First of all, when we talk about American Rescue Plan money, the money for the hazard pay came out of that.
came out of that, did not
Okay, so if
come
we
out
had
of
a-
the sheriff's
if we have
salary.
$1,000,000 in increases, how much was the hazard pay money?
Actually, the total for the whole county was like 660.
Okay.
That's the whole county, but it was paid
But just to
specifically
make it
out of
very
the-
clear, the $1,000,001 has been requested so far this year did not include that hazard pay.
No.
Number two.
Premium pay.
Premium pay. Number two, what portion, if any, of the money that's being requested had been appropriated previously and spent for other things other than what we have now?
And I had
I should
asked
ask you differently.
Sheriff that a couple times because he had come in and asked for additional for his Pro Phoenix, which was a contract that we've had for years, which was in his budget. And as he said, he came into office, had to make some changes, improvements. We understand, but that contract money was for Pro Phoenix, and we have procedures to follow that to come and request for the computers, to come and request for different things. You did with the carpet, and so maintenance is covering that. There's a lot of these bills that Alexis paid at the beginning of the year that we had offered to pay with the air handler. The last time you were in here, we offset that amount. We offset the amount of the 2020 bills that you were covering in 2021. Some of these are still the same. When Alexis brought in the Tiffin Ford bills, it looked like this was going to be to catch it up, and now she's still got bills that are behind.
It's just, again.
The cars are falling apart. I mean, I just had the wheel bearing replaced on the sheriff's car, which is the 2012. That was $500. I mean, I can't. I'm not making this stuff up. I mean, and I don't know what to tell you that there is so much that I got handed that was wrong that needed to be fixed right away. And I'm sorry if I didn't follow the proper procedures. But one of the biggest ones was with the auditor's office, and Monday is a deadline of 9 o'clock to get the payroll in. Sometimes we weren't getting payroll until Thursday, they told me. I had to purchase a computer system. This is the 21st century, and they were still doing stuff by paper, handling through 3 or 4 different people, losing timesheets, not timesheets, but leave slips and sick slips, and so that was a must need to. And if you ask the auditor's office now, we are meeting their deadline. So there was a lot of things that had to be snap decisions made in the first few months, and I apologize, if I didn't follow the proper procedures. But things had to get fixed. Things had to. The liability issue upon you, the commissioners, Stacy, you, the city, the county administrator, and myself, keeps me up at night. And I'm trying to fix those things, but it costs money. And we need to, we talk about having the need to professionalize public safety and the need to put money into it. And that's what I'm here for. I'm not asking anything different than what you're trying to do to set up a professional, fully staffed, and equipped and trained EMS. We are currently a department that needs that, and we're trying to set up another one, and yet we're still not fully staffing and fully equipping with current technology and stuff the one that's already here. So I'm just trying to give you an accurate, transparent what needs to be done to get us to the level where we need to be at for adequate responses to emergency calls, the adequate equipment, the adequate training that needs to be done. And it shouldn't fall on me for the mistakes of the last decade or so that this wasn't asked for by the previous administration. I'm giving you what I feel is an accurate picture of what it costs to run the Seneca County jail out there. Now, I'm not just asking for money. I've been putting money back, with Corsa, the reimbursements we're getting for the money that I've had to take out that wasn't budgeted from the contractual services lines and everything. So that doesn't get counted back towards me, the reimbursements. We've got contracts that I sent to Stacy. One's a food service contract that's going to bring in some money. Another one is the fuel use with the city that you will see here that's going to save us money. We've got Wyandotte County is starting to use it. So I've been making the rounds with the sheriff. As of today, we have Wyandotte County housing prisoners with us. So that's going to bring in revenue. We've increased the detainees from the 14 or 15 when I first came in office. We're at 37 today. I'll get 3 more before the end of the week, and we'll be at 40. I just told you that my top number is I really would like to get 50 in there. But we have to do it slowly with the staff additions as we're going. But I really want to hone in on the point that a criminal justice, whether it's the jail or the roadside, we shouldn't be talking about I need to balance that and make money to cover or supplement the other requests or whatever, because then you get into that gray area of are you just doing that? Are there quotas? Are there, and then that's illegal. We've got to get out of the mindset of if you don't bring in X amount of money, then we can't give you X amount of money. I will do my part to bring in the revenue to help supplement as much as I can the sheriff's office budget, but that sheriff's office budget of that originally was given to me at the beginning of the year, no way would have can do the things that we've done this year.
Okay, well, Sheriff, we're not asking you to generate X dollars. We're asking you to help us understand.
Yes.
When we came in here in the beginning of the year, we said we're going to get additional ICE prisoners probably. In the beginning, we didn't know whether or not we knew it would be a nice facility. You've been able to make the upgrades and supposedly we're qualified for that. And you're doing some other things. The problem with increasing the population of the jail is that it's an eventual incremental increase as the year goes on. The expenses are, according to your conversation, this has been going on for decades. You can't fix everything in 1 year of something that's been going on for decades. And that's kind of the position I feel like you're trying to put us in, that we need to fix everything that's wrong and we need to do it this year. And if we don't, the world's going to fall apart. And I don't know if that's a fair representation as to what's happening here. And I know you're frustrated, but you got to.
I'm sorry. It's not the world's going to fall apart. It's the liability issues, the lawsuit issues, the rolling the dice and not coming up craps is just luck. I sat down with you and I've had discussions on the things that the potential lawsuits, the areas that are going to, hopefully some of the grant money is going to cover, and if not, then we got to prioritize the amount of money that you set aside that will fix some of the issues there. But it's not just on the jail side, it's on the road side. It's the lack of the training program, it's the lack of the equipment maintenance of it. All this stuff together, is what I'm trying to not have a detrimental effect on the bottom line when one lawsuit is going to wipe out this request of 375 right now, or the total request of 1 million. We've seen that in the past already in one of the lawsuits that was on the jail with $750,000. So I don't want that placed on you or my shoulders. And the sooner that we can get some breathing room and get it to a functional, adequate services, the better. And I get your frustrations as well. Because I talk to you guys a lot and I try to be as transparent as possible. So I get it. I understand when you say fiscal fatigue and where's the money coming from, and I'm going to continue to do my part. So.
Okay, so we got a time crunch here. Commissioner Paradiso's got to be at a meeting. I don't know, Stacy, if I can recess. I suppose I can, if we get a motion to do so. And come back, what time would you be able to get back here?
2.
2? So let's make it 2:30 to be safe.
Two for the.
I will, are you okay with that?
We have kids to deal with, so two would work.
I can take care of her.
Okay.
She's got something going on.
All right.
You okay with that?
So I'll accept the motion to recess until 2:30.
Make that motion.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion?
Sorry about that,
Roll
Sheriff,
call,
we have
please.
to leave. And
Oh,
Commissioner
that's
Schiff,
okay.
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso,
yes.
Commissioner Kirschner.
Yes. We do expect we'll have some additional business at that point.
So you're right
Anybody
here.
is welcome to come back. I'd like to tell you about your lunch, but I'm not gonna.
For real.
Okay, here we are, 2:30. I believe that we need a motion to go back in session. Is that correct? Thank you, Mr. Paradiso.
Second?
Very good. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kirschner,
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso,
Yes.
Commissioner Schiff.
Yes.
Okay, here we
So
are.
where were we, Mr. President?
Well, I can tell you where we were.
Okay.
Sheriff's still on the line. That's a good thing.
Yep.
Okay. I guess I was just kind of seeing what your guys' thoughts are here. I had my say regarding the amounts. So, Tyler, you got some thoughts here?
It just seems like every couple weeks we're having to put more money in out there. It's a big ask. Yeah. As far as the equipment, the 17,000, what was that for?
Equipment of 17,000.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have that, Sheriff? You wouldn't need me to pull up your email.
All right, so equipment is 17,000. That was to replace the stuff that we already purchased, computer stuff. Some of the other items that were broken or non-functional to get to the end of the year. There was an 18,001. That's the computer software licenses on the jail side for the Phoenix split because we had purchased in time some other items that when we moved down to software licenses, not all that money was moved down. Miscellaneous repairs was 15,300 for vehicle repairs that have gone above and beyond that line item because of not getting the newer vehicles out in time, and we still won't till the end of October. So most of our repairs are in the thousands because the front ends, struts, stuff like that need to be repaired, wheel bearings. Miscellaneous services was 33,000 for the gas increases that we've had throughout the year. I filled up to come down here after speaking at the League of Women's Voters, and it was 315, even though I had gassed up just earlier that day, come here in the morning, and it was 296. So we're fluctuating at the gas prices there. That's why that's increased. There was a $500 line item in other expenses, and that was for the late fees that we're getting on the lost receipts and not getting it in time to the auditor's office because they only bill or they only pay the invoices twice a month. So if we miss that date and have to wait for the 2 weeks for the next one, we incur a $150 late fee. Going with the contract with the fuel pumps in the city will eliminate a large part of having to get the receipts and stuff from the different gas stations, so that'll fix that. The other two big items that are the 291,000 are the salaries, the Medicare PRS for the back pay and the future pay for the contractual items, and that's the 125,600 for the road and the 165,500 for the for the jail. And I keep hearing, you know, the commissioners say every few weeks I come in there, and I don't agree with that. I'm not coming every couple weeks. You know, we're in the 9th month, and I might have come, you know, 3 or 4 times with requests. The sub apps that were put in. So I don't know if that's being very, very accurate by saying every 2 weeks I'm coming in there asking for money. So I get frustrated with that as well. So I apologize for my frustration, but it's been a long day.
Yes, Bill, you're right. It's been a
And there
long day.
was, every week, there was a supplemental appropriation put into the system, and that's what we're referring to. Since the last time you were here and we increased your budget the last time, ever since then, there was a sup app in for the sheriff's office, not including your non-general fund. There was a sup app in. We didn't read them because that's when I think Tony reached out to you and said, okay, we can't keep having this on every week. And because we seem to be getting the same justification every time. You mentioned gas. Well, gas is a supply, and we addressed that last time we gave more money. So in none of these requests, you're asking for supply, so that isn't in this calculation. And the equipment, if there was other equipment that was either broke or need purchased, or as I think Alexis said, that, you know, the auditor said, well, you can't do it out of supplies, you got to pay for it out of equipment. I get it, but then you should be able to move that money instead of asking for supplements. The same with the license, because again, Pro Phoenix is a contract we've had every year, and if now she's saying, well, you can't pay it out of contract services anymore, it was still budgeted, so instead of asking for additional, we should be able to just move it from the contract services line to software. So I think there's just getting to be things added into it that I feel some of them have already been asked for and addressed. You know, we did auto repair the last request, and then so we still have more, which I understand. You seem to have issues with the vehicles. We have, what, 20 or 30 vehicles out there, and they're all bad?
Yeah, I told you guys that when I came at the beginning of the year, when we told you 60% of the fleet were over 200,000.
And
I had a vehicle that was sitting there from November that never got fixed till May when they finally got the front end part, you know, and that was $4,500 or whatever it cost for that part. So this inherited non-fixing of items and letting it just sit, or, you know, kicking the can down the road is where I'm at. While we wait to agree to these prices, that more bills are coming in and we have to pay them out of those lines. I get told by the auditors, no, it can't come out of this line. Then you tell me that it got to come out of this line. So I have yet to, I really need to sit down again, like we did with Julie, and go over what are your procedures and what are their procedures, because the two don't mix sometimes. And that's where I'm getting some of my confusion and my staff's confusion, because a lot of them weren't allowed to do any of this stuff. And so we're all learning new together. A lot of this stuff was done by one person or compartmentalized by the last administration. And I'm for having transparency and having multiple people know how to do this, so that when one person's on vacation or off on FMLA, the bills don't stack up and wait, and then we end up with late fees or other stuff. So
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that at all, but you need to take a look at your budget before you go sending those 20 cars to Tiffin Ford to say, okay, what contracts do I have in place? Oh shoot, I only have enough to pay for 2 cars. I need to go to the commissioner's office and say, I have an emergency, I have 16 cars down that I need to be fixed. I mean, I get some are an emergency, but all of them aren't an emergency. I can't believe we have 20 vehicles to go down at the same time. It's just,
they're not going down. It's the nickel and diming of fixing a bearing here or a wheel here, get new tires here. It all adds up because it wasn't being maintained before. So I cannot justify putting a vehicle on the road and having them go code, you know, across the county from Bettsville to Bloomville and Flat Rock to New Regal in vehicles that aren't shimmying and shaking and a wheel gonna fall off, and then we're having an injured deputy or an accident through an intersection or something like that. So those are emergencies to me when we need to repair a road vehicle or a transport vehicle that we have to go back and forth to the court multiple times a day and do transports to Grafton and back and Cincinnati and back and all across the state of Ohio. So they're not all going down at the same time, but those bills are still coming in when they do get repaired and things get replaced. So again, I will take responsibility from the beginning of the year till now on not understanding fully the county procedures on when to submit the sub apps, how many times we can submit a sub app, what are for if it's just a regular sub app for equipment versus a sub app for personnel. You know, those are deadlines that I didn't know about on a Friday versus Tuesday's deadline, Tuesday morning's deadline, and you know, those are on me, and I will learn as we go. And I appreciate all the help from the auditor's office and from you, Stacy, and from Kylie and the commissioners themselves. You know, helping me through my learning curve of the office. But you know, I'm not going to go into detail on the liability issues, because then I think that hangs us out there more. But I'm willing to have individual conversations with you. What keeps me up at night on some of the things that I was left with, and some of the things that we need to address, not only just through the grant stuff, but you know, on the training side that you've helped out so much so far, firearms qualifications. You know, it's a whole gambit of things that need fixed because of the lack of the preventive maintenance, the lack of the personnel issues, the lack of planning, strategic planning versus capital planning, all that stuff. And that's where my frustration comes from. It's not trying to explain to you guys, it's just trying to wrap my head around how to fix these things in a budget that was never appropriate to begin with.
Well, it's always. Sorry.
I'm sorry, what happened?
Sorry, I think Tyler had his volume on accident.
Oh.
I mean, we can look at the history of the jail and of the sheriff's department budget, and it's always been sufficient before. The budget we gave, granted you had no input in it whatsoever, it's still higher than anything that the previous administration had spent or even asked for. It's just new, and it's $1 million above and beyond, and
yeah.
And it's
can I say that
ongoing.
One thing that you say the previous budgets were sufficient? That's because they weren't fixing the problems that were supposed to be fixed. They weren't addressing the personnel issues. They weren't addressing the air handler issues, the carpet issues, the lack of maintenance of the vehicle issues and stuff, and kick the can down the road to the next person to that person finally says, you know what, this isn't right. We're putting our deputies' lives at risk in these poorly maintained vehicles. We're putting their careers at risk and our taxpayers' money at risk when they're not trained correctly, when they're not qualifying correctly, when they're not understanding what Fourth Amendment issues are through lack of training, because it just never was done that way. So yes, it was sufficient for previous budgets because they didn't. I'm not going to say they didn't care. I'm just going to say that they didn't think about the liability issues that a true executive that has had the training that I've had, that understands this for doing it the last 8 years at the city and keeping them out of trouble. That's where my frustration comes from. Yes, last time when you guys begrudgingly gave me the training budget money, the one comment you made, Stacy, was that, well, he never had that in his budget before, so it's hard to give it now. Well, that's not my fault that he didn't put that money in the budget. That's poor planning. That training has to be done.
Corsa and the free training, they had grants for training, so I can't believe that any previous sheriff didn't have any training.
No, they had the free training, but you can't have in your folder an ethics class that was 1 hour that you took online every single year by the same free training that never update their training. So you have to expand that training. You have to look at what is the current de-escalation skills? What are the current firearms tactics? What are the current use of force tactics? Legal issues. So that 15,000 divided into the 45 correction officers I have, equals $300 a piece. The same with on the road into the deputies that are on the road, that's $500 a piece. That's nothing when a course costs $200 to go to one course, on de-escalation. You find your training money goes fast there. But if you just give them the free online training stuff, you're not getting your bang for your buck because you get what you pay for when it comes down to a lawsuit. So it's a pay me now, pay me later thing. It's a necessary evil. And that's just one example of how they were lacking in the training out there. You can talk to any of the deputies. You don't have to get it from me. They're getting more training now, and they're getting better training that's actually relevant to their job skills or their job sets.
And I think we're getting a little off track because you aren't asking for training. The commissioner's already
No,
authorized the training.
that was an example of money that when you say it was sufficient in the budget last year, when he had $0 for training, and we've increased that on both sides by $15,000, that increases my budget. I had to come for a supplemental appropriation for that. I had to ask for something that, as an executive, I shouldn't have to ask for. I should have had a training line with money into it. So that's just one example.
Here's a dilemma, or part of the dilemma from my chair. And that is, I've sat in this chair for 7 years. And I don't purport to know anything about being an auditor, anything about being a clerk, anything about being a treasurer. But I do purport to be an administrator. And as I look at our situation, first of all, I see that, as we said before, that your services, the sheriff's services, law enforcement services are a high priority. They are 40% of the county's budget, or very close to that. The second thing, from my observation, is that as long as I've been here, 7 years, we've had a couple of incidents at the jail, but I have never had a complaint from a citizen about the sheriff not showing up at a crime scene, not showing up at an accident, being too late there, or having some major concern. In the 7 years I sat in this chair, I have not honestly gotten one call in that. And that's why it's difficult to get your arms around the concerns that you're having at this point. Now, I know we had a couple of complaints out at the medical situations, mostly out at the prison, or out at the jail. So I know that's happened once. I'm not sure if that's a result of training, or if that's just a result of bad luck, or if it's a result of conditions. But I can say from a law enforcement standpoint, I don't know of anything we've ever had. So that's why it's difficult to understand how we could have gotten by all these years, except the explanation would be we just got great people working, I guess. So the fact that it's 40% of our budget, I want to make that very clear. That's how much of an emphasis we put on your department. And the fact that there has not been, it hasn't been an area of concern, and we've not had in 7 years these kind of discussions. It's a bit of a shock. It's a bit of a sticker shock, and that's why it takes so long, I think, for us to get our arms around it.
Well, I don't know if the citizens haven't complained to you directly, but they have over the years that I've been at the city of Tiffin, and when I was running for sheriff, about not handling the accident calls, substandard investigations. So maybe they, what I was told isn't being told to you or the other commissioners. But certainly when I went around and talked to the township trustees, when I talked to the fire associations and the different fire departments, whatever, they all bent my ear about the issues that they had, either with dispatch or with being able to get complaints handled correctly or anything like that. So I can't explain why citizens didn't come and express that to you over the 7 years, but it certainly has been expressed to many people out there. And it's certainly one of the reasons why I won the election, is because I was able to verbalize what I was going to change out there by us handling those type of calls, the investigations getting better, and dispatch getting cleaned up and those type of things. And we certainly have done that in the 9 months here. So I don't know what to tell you about nobody coming and complaining to you about that. There's other issues out there that needed to be addressed.
Okay. Well, let's get through the rest of the supplemental appropriations, read those, and then we'll take this thing to the next step.
Do you want me to sheriffs or
Yeah, we pretty
separate?
much been through those individually, we read them and talked about every line.
Okay.
So let's consider that read and then go to supplemental.
Okay, let me go back into my system here. Budget adjustments. Okay. All right, I have a request from juvenile probate court into their 1176 fund. It looks like it's on a different line. You can see that one on the agenda.
No,
Is that one for next week? All right, sorry.
I was gonna say I'm lost already, but.
Yep,
take
okay,
one.
that one's sheriff. This one is...
Ours, the agenda starts out with general fund for prosecutor salaries.
Yeah, okay, I'll just read off the agenda then. Usually the descriptions I have to be able to see in the system. But we have the general fund, prosecutor salary for employees. I mentioned this last week. He's got retirement that we talked about last week. Somebody's leaving, they gotta pay out the vacation. And I'm working with the auditor's office to get that liability you were asking about. So we have the $14,000 for salaries, $370 for Medicare, $350 for PERS. I had a request from the engineer's office, putting $20,000 into their contract project lines, into the maintenance repair. I have a request from the engineer's office, again, in the maintenance repair, into their reinforced steel line for $5,000, not $500,000. I have a request from the treasurer's office. This is for his other expense line, $13,133.84. This is for the second half settlement. I have a request from, I think this is Special Projects Fund. Let me see which one that is. Department. Budget adjustment. 1093 is 3 for 26. That's Juvenile Probate Court Special Projects Fund. So they are using it for vehicle for the use of the public guardian, $26,500 in equipment. Another request from Juvenile Probate Court for their Delinquent Care and Custody Grant Fund, contract services for $5,000. A request from the Sheriff's Office for their TCAP grant contract service line. This is the money that the Common Police Court gave to the sheriff to pay for some electronic monitoring. I have a request, this is for our maintenance into our Justice Center operating fund, contract services of $50,000. We got the payment from the city of Tiffin, so we needed to increase it for the remaining of the utility bills. And then I have the VOCA grant. As you know, her grant falls in a different cycle, so her new grant starts, so she needs to do basically her budget for her 2110 account. So salaries for $15,800, PERS for $2,500. She's got two different lines. PRS for $1,300, Medicare for $150, workers' comp for $2,000, contract services $180, other expense $550, hospitalization $900, the other salary line $9,000, Medicare $300, hospitalization $3,800, supplies $350, workers' comp $250.
Maybe I should know this, but why is the word cash inserted there? I'm sorry.
It's,
I was gonna ask
one's the grant, and instead of labeling the grant one, they named their portion cash, something the auditor's office and the victim's assistant put
That just scares me.
as a
There's some
title.
cash on it.
On an expense line, yeah, that's what they labeled it.
All right.
And then I have, let's see, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor. And I think you guys all seen this. And they're just certifying the tax levy amounts. It looks like estimate for general fund, $2,762,591. Mental health, $9,769,340. Health district, $454,514. Commission on Aging, $361,116. Mental health and recovery, $1,012,679. And this is just a report she has to do every year, and then we have to ratify. I have a resolution accepting the bid and entering into contract with Midwest Contracting Incorporation on behalf of Crossway. We finally got a bid that we could accept.
Is that for the whole thing or just a piece of it?
I think they had a couple.
Because they kind of did a la carte.
They had like 5 or 6. I don't have the full contract here. Don't even have the amount. Do you have the amount, Kylie, by any chance? Let me see if I can find his email real quick. Crossway, Jason. Crossway. It was only in the 200,000. It's Midwest. Sorry about this. I may have to get back to you on that one. I'm not finding it quickly. But this is all grant money that Crossway got from the state. I know it was 200 and some thousand, so I'll have to see which ones they accepted and which ones didn't. I just don't have the full contract printed, just the signature. And I have a resolution authorizing the real estate purchase agreement for the Seneca County Riads Industries Incorporated building on behalf of the Seneca County Commissioner's Office. Mentioned that a couple weeks ago. They accepted the offer of $190,000. And I have the resolution authorizing Seneca County Board of Commissioners to enter into an agreement with Stantec Consulting Services for engineering services for 2022 ODOT improvements to the Seneca County Airport to replace runway lighting and rails.
Is this supposed to be rails?
I think it's supposed to be rails. And authorizing Mike Kirschner, President of the Board, to sign any agreements and related documentation. I think I read this one earlier, but I'll include it. The resolution authorizing the Board of Seneca County Commissioners to sign the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction Subsidy Grant Agreement for the Target Community Alternatives to Prison. That's the one Merchant was in here to talk about. And that's all I have.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve all the supplemental appropriations that Stacy went over, excluding the sheriff's request at the top.
Okay.
Second motion.
All right. Any additional discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Schuff,
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso,
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner.
Yes.
Can I get a comment with the sheriff?
Sure, absolutely.
Sheriff, you back on?
Yes, he's on.
Yes, I am, I'm sorry.
Okay, Tony talking. So, I just wanna.
I'm back on.
You know, we've been back and forth, there's been a lot of discussion, and I'm gonna try to, in my way, for me, my thoughts, summarize kind of I guess my thoughts on this whole thing. Okay, so as commissioners, we work very close with our administrator. In this case, it's Stacy. I think we all understand that. Okay, and so we have a process. You've learned it. I've learned it since I've been in this chair. I'm still learning it. Okay, but we have a process. We have budgets. And we expect all the electeds to live within their budgets. So as an elected, things come up, you need to deviate from your budget. The process in the past, I think this is some of the frustration, is you come in before you spend the money and you inform the commissioners, then things take place. We went through this, for example, with our treasurer, and we had a discussion, and so in your case, and I'm not saying some of that maybe isn't warranted, but so I'm just getting to the point of the big picture. So that's occurred. Then I think you've got just the times we're in, the uncertainty. We're really close. I mean, we're 5 weeks away from our budget being certified, right? Our income stays for next year. And at that point, you'll have your budget for next year. Now, when I look at this, and I look at the 2019 actual budget of 5.9 million with $1.1 million of jail revenue from the back end, that's 4.8 million rounded of county general fund revenue. In 2021, if we approve everything that's here, and we're not going to, not honor contracts, that kind of thing, so bear with me on this. That takes us to over 7 million, right, Stacy? That would put us at 7 million with maybe 600,000 at the back end, taking us to 6.4 million. So that's $1.6 million difference in 2 years. And a lot of these things that I hear are one time, but yet when I ask Stacy to go over the 7 million that we're looking at, she's informing me, and this should be you because it's your budget, that these are not one time. These are recurring. So forget all the one time. Forget the holiday premium pay, whatever we call it, for a couple $100,000. How much was it? That was
The
around-
premium,
Yeah.
2,000 each, so 660. 660,000 total.
Okay, so that
That's
wasn't
total.
included, Sheriff, in your budget. There's a lot of expense things that were done that got picked up by the county maintenance. We're looking at a whole bunch of additional one-time expenses out there. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding with my fellow commissioners, you and Stacy, that your budget, your operating ongoing budget, not your one-time budget, is now creeped to 7 million. Now, the good news is, I think it's coming, it's not here, and we talk a lot about we can't tie the back end revenue to the front end. Well, we have 35 detainees. This was your printout you gave us. 35 detainees at $58 a day in the back would generate on an annual basis $731,000. The same 35 at $100 a day would generate $1.2 million, $60,000. That's $500,000 more with the same number of detainees. You're at 35, you're on your way to 40. My understanding is for you to go back and have that conversation, we need to be in compliance with the 2019 standards. Is that an accurate statement?
That is accurate.
Okay, and so we've approved hiring additional people in the back, including the RN, et cetera. So do you expect, first of the year, when do you expect to have that conversation to go back to be certified and ask for more money at the back end? Then I have a few other comments.
once I have the 5 hired, which we don't yet, then that conversation can be had with them once they're trained and are affecting the schedule. When they're on training, they don't affect the schedule. So you can't raise your correction officer numbers with the state, with the government, because they're not fully trained yet. They're not on the schedule. When we have that conversation, is once they're out of the training. The 5th one comes out of the training, which I'm hoping to be by the end of the year. As long as we don't get resignations, would put us behind the 8 ball again.
Okay. So I'm just gonna park that conversation, but, we looked at numbers. I think we all agree that the quote, number of people that you house may not ever be what it was, but if we could double our revenue per night, that would make a huge difference. And then I've looked at Sandusky County budget and it's 5.6 million. So your counterpart in Sandusky County has a $5.6 million budget, and then now you're at 7 million. So I don't understand that. That's $1.4 million difference. And we're not talking one-time improvements, right? Stacy, we're talking about ongoing contracts, payroll, people that equal current. If we approve everything in front of us, we're at 7,033,000 going into next year, and I don't know if we're done for the year, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I don't understand, I don't know if you've taken a look at that. So my segue off of that is what you spent this year and what you're going to spend this year doesn't necessarily mean that it automatically becomes next year's budget. So if in fact there are some one-time things and there are some, there's creep in expenses, I mean, I can't, I'm not sure we can approve a $7 million budget for you right now. That's right now. So I think I'm just letting you know that as we discuss items that are laying here, because we're 5 weeks away from every elected in the county submitting their budget to us, and the Budget Commission certifying our revenue. So I keep staring at this 2021 budget, and I sure would like to see a 2022 real budget now that you know all these things. And all I have to base my decision on is I look at Stacy and she tells me that I add that 712 additional money, we're at 6658, we add this additional money, we're now at 7 million. That's what you're telling us. So, as much as I want to kind of tackle all this, we can't spend more than we have. I don't care who needs it, unless you're the judges and you want to court order it. I mean, we have to, so we're 5 weeks away from a budget for next year. Okay, and if I just can't put it all together, I'm having a hard time looking at these lines, then coming over looking at 7 million for the year, looking at Sandusky County at 5.6. When you talk and you explain things, I follow you and you make total sense, Sheriff. So I'm not, and I want to help, okay? But this has nothing to do either with the back end being maybe 500,000-600,000. We're just talking top line at 7 million, right? It's actually worse because the jail revenue in the back is $500,000 lower than it was 2 years ago. So I'm getting nervous and I'm just having a hard time. So for me, when I have a budget, we pay this, but if this is all we got, we have to cut that. And I don't know we're not in those conversations yet. But that's my take on it. So I think we've tried to kick the can down as commissioners down the road with, is the sheriff going to get his grant or isn't he? And what are we going to certify for next year, and what's the budget process look like for the whole county? Because that's what the commissioners look at. At the same time, you're doing your job every day, and I'm listening to you, and I want to support you, so don't ever feel that we're not 100%, I'm not personally 100% behind you, because I am. But those are my thoughts, and I just can't, I'd like to have more clarity to it. And I have to look at Stacy for, who's been doing this forever with all the electeds, for guidance and her input. And so I sense frustration with you, and now, that said, I'll pause. Back to you, Mr. President, and maybe we can.
Sure. Sheriff, do you have any return thoughts there from Tony's comments?
No, I mean, I appreciate, the support and everything, and I understand your guys' frustration, and I understand, the sticker price is shock to Stacy as well. But I'm truly telling you what it needs to operate it, and just because
back on mute for some reason.
Put in for the additional things that are needed to maintain and fix and plan for. That's where my frustration comes from, is that if we're going to have a professional, adequate, professionally trained, professionally equipped office, then it comes with a cost, and I believe the citizens understand that. The talk last night, I laid out everything what I just laid out to you guys today. The League of Women Voters were very understanding. They asked valid questions. They're very supportive. They want professionally trained public safety at the fair. The same questions I got, from the citizens and the township trustees and going around since being elected and talking to the people that are out there that are seeing the services improve. They understand it as well. And I don't know if maybe some citizens need to start calling in or talking to you that, the discussion in 5 weeks with the budget, is going to be a good start, but we also need to talk about the budget commission, and maybe, that's where the increase needs to be, so that it's not a pitting, one department against another. Well, if we give the sheriff's office more, then we're gonna have to cut over in this office, maybe we need to discuss, now's the time to increase the whole county's budget because of the sheriff's office needing the additional funds that they need without taking it from other departments. And that's what I don't want to do. I don't want to be pitted against the other departments, and I don't want to be pitted against you guys. And I'm just trying to lay out what is needed to fix the issues out there, long-term and short-term. The short-term ones, we're not going to have them next year. I already can see that 9 months in, that appreciate all the help that's gone into fixing these one-time issues. Some are on the table still because of this grant, waiting to see what we can wring out of the federal government, and hopefully it doesn't have to come out of our general fund. So I'm very appreciative. I'm not trying to seem like I'm not. I'm just frustrated, and you are as well, and I see that, so I'll just leave it at that. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, well, therein lies the problem. We talk about the budgeting process. Because so now we have, we definitely, I can say with 99% certainty, the Budget Commission is not going to increase their certification by 20%. Okay, we have certified this year 19 million?
Yeah, I think she's upped it to just about 19.
I mean, call it 19, it was
Yeah.
18. Okay, so, they're not gonna increase it by 3.8 million. That's, you can bet your bottom dollar on that. However, if we have to increase one of the departments by 20%, and we only get, let's say, a 5% increase on the, for the Budget Commission, somebody's gotta get cut. I mean, that's just reality. And we're not trying to pit anybody against anybody. It's just that we have so many dollars available, and from a whole dollar standpoint, if somebody takes, more of that pot than they did previously, somebody else is gonna get less of the pot. I mean, there is no other way to look at it. And again, this isn't, one elected against another elected. This is the reality of the budgeting process.
Yeah, and if one office wasn't getting what they should have gotten, somebody else got more, then there's the reverse of that as well. And that's what I'm trying to display to you, is that the budgeting that's been presented in the past for the sheriff's office might have been sufficient, but it doesn't address the glaring, maintenance issues, the capital requests that should have been put in, the training requests, all these other line items that are creeping up now, personnel issues, right? Lack of manning on the road. Those are the issues that, because we didn't get the appropriate amounts, other people got them, is what you're saying. That's the reverse argument of that.
Yeah, well, it hasn't been, Sheriff, that long ago that we had to cut back to 4 days because we were so concerned about revenue going down because of the COVID situation and sales tax, et cetera. I mean, we're only 10 or 12 months removed from that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just, it's been such a dynamic process. Things have changed so rapidly.
Agreed.
And then when we were, so surprised when sales tax actually has been at or above what it was a year before, along with things like, casino money. Who would have thought it? But, and I don't know how much we're gonna certify next year. I sit on Budget Commission. I've never seen an increase more than 3 or 4%.
And she's actually only got it still at 18.
18.
18.
So, again, 5%, would be 3.6, which would take us to 21.5, 21.6. That ain't gonna happen.
So I'm back to you, Sheriff, asking a question. If this year's actual budget, your revised numbers, if the year ended and you added everything you spent this year, if that, in your minds today, is what your next year budget's gonna be, we're probably off to a rough start, because you would be, it's pretty high. So you got a lot of things in there, and I'm just asking you in the next 5 weeks to, I understand all the one-time things, but Stacy's basically saying these are all reoccurring. You're basically saying a lot of them's one time. Okay, so it's 30,000 for training. Okay, so it's 330,000 because we adjusted all the salaries. Okay, I mean, I can get 400,000 or 500,000, but I don't know how you get to $1 million or $1.2 million.
Of recurring, you mean?
Yeah, of reoccurring. So I'm challenging you to, now that you have battle tested, you got a year under your belt, you kind of, and as we discussed right now, you still don't have all those road people, which would take you to a larger number. So I'm trying to be realistic. Your budget's clearly going to be higher than the prior sheriff's budget. I'm just not sure it's going to be everything you want, and especially from year 1 to year 2. I mean, this might, you can come in and this is where we want to get to, but I'm just trying to, so we're not all frustrated going into the budget process. Trying to get
well, we got a decision before us. I know we can talk about the future, we'll talk about the budget process, and I understand we need to do that, but right now, we've got this piece of paper here and a request for $375,000. Tyler, any last thoughts from you?
No, if we have every department coming in asking for a 20% increase, it's gonna put us in a tight spot. So at this point, I'm thinking towards.
Well, how do we do? Yeah.
Okay, so, as we have it, we have sheriff's request for general fund of $375,000, $167,07. What say you?
Richard, you have any thoughts?
Sheriff, can I have another week to talk to Alexis. If you want an answer now, other than the salaries, I think it should be live within your means, and if you have to not get something that's not contractually, you need to find it from somewhere else. But that's not my decision. I'm just really concerned of the trend of where we're going.
So you said other than the salary, so that's the 122 and the 125 and everything related to those as far as PERS?
PRS and Medicare.
At this point in time, it would be your thought that we need to get those approved?
Those were what we contractually obligated when we signed the new union contracts.
Okay, and then you want another week to take a look at the other contractual software licenses, contract services, et cetera,
Yeah.
to see whether we can squeeze those out of some other, to make a supplemental appropriation possibly for some of those.
I would like to work with Alexis to see if we can't do some appropriation adjustments, because if it was money that was already appropriated, but the auditor's office told you to use it somewhere else, unless it was spent twice, you should have it somewhere else. So.
Okay, so
I think that's fair. I think that plus it'll give us time to sit down and look at everything that was appropriated this year, because my understanding of the VIP and what was printed out for me and what was shown to me doesn't match. So that, I think that's fair.
Budget process too. I'll make a motion, we approve the salary portion and all the fringes and benefits that go along with it for approximately, I think it was $291 total.
Okay.
Second.
Need a second?
And we'll talk about this next week.
Additional discussion? Hearing none, go ahead.
Commissioner Schuff,
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso,
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner.
Yes. It's a long road, but we got there. Long and winding road.
It's a long day.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Sheriff. You're at a conference, you're a featured speaker today, or?
No, I was not featured, but I was sneaking in and out, so hopefully I still get a certificate.
Okay.
Hey, make sure you start crunching your numbers on that budget.
Absolutely, I've started.
Bring it in, we'll sign the certificate if you need it.
Okay, and you should be seeing those two contracts come across as well. Stacy, you got those emailed to you?
Okay.
Yeah, I seen the city of Tiffin has a 2% fee to it. Did you see that?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And then the other one, both of them, Derek looked at it, approved a form on the food service one as well.
We have our blue lights shining brightly in our yard, Sheriff, in your corner.
Well, thank you, I appreciate it. Porch lights are available still. Well, actually, I think they're on back order, aren't they, Commissioner Shell?
Yeah, we're still waiting for some to come in at Lowe's and Walmart, and it's been hard to
We wiped them all out.
Good. I snuck one out of the office and put it in the lamp.
Well, thank you guys.
Thanks.
Long day for you guys as well, but great presentations earlier in the morning. That was very informative.
Thank you, Sheriff. Okay, public comments. Jimmy, make the announcement. I don't know if anybody's left.
Yeah, anybody on Zoom want to talk, go ahead.
God bless Audrey, she's hanging in there.
Bill, you have him there.
Yep.
Well, yeah, Bill, yeah.
Okay,
Bill's in
back.
person.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay.
You know, all pays the same, but it doesn't matter how many hours you're here. Okay.
That's the way it goes. All right, a motion we adjourned.
Second.
Roll call, yay. All right.
I usually